family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Memory. This is available to the billions of people around the world on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and many more. I'm Liem. I
was about to say you were getting good at this, but
I always fuck this up.
It's a lot better than last time.
Classes on at the beginning of the video, so it makes sense to put it. Yes. We have to maintain the timeline continuity.
I'm Liem. I'm your host. I bring the perspective of a software engineer doing it for almost 2 decades. And my sidekick is?
I am Emmett Morgan. I live here in Las Vegas. I help people buy and sell real estate. I have a degree in accounting. I don't know what to do with my life. But one of the highlights is coming to this podcast. We are delighted and lucky today to be talking to Tharmaraj Rajandran all the way from Malaysia. If you don't know where Malaysia is, go look it up on a map while you're watching this podcast and learn something, damn it. Tharmaraj, I'm screwing up your name. I'm sorry. Tharmaraj,
No,
tell us about yourself. What's your gig, man?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. My name is Tharmaraj, and I'm from Malaysia. So basically, I have this podcast called Cash Cow, which I talk about finance, personal finance, investment, accounting, and stuff like that. I'm also a corporate accountant by day, and I have managed a online nursing service provider, which I run with my family. So we supply nurses within Malaysia, and that's basically who I am.
What is there anything you want to plug? So Cash Cow is your podcast. How would they find that? Is there anything else that you want to plug?
Okay, so Cash Cow, you can find it on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts as well. You can just search it up on Spotify, as we also have it there. And yeah, that's the main thing I'm plugging. I would love to plug my Instagram page as well, which is at Cash Cow. So yeah, you can find me there.
And Cash Cow as in CASH,
yes,
and then
CASHKAW.
KAW for cow, because
Yes,
later on,
KAW.
if the viewers are watching, he explains what that is.
Dude,
Awesome.
he's on Spotify. He's like Joe Rogan.
Awesome. All right, let's cut. I think that's good. Why is camping, is that not popular to you, or do you think to the Malaysian culture?
I think okay, there's a certain number of people that like camping. Not me personally, because
You and Emmett.
it's just yeah, because it, like, I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me, like going out and sleeping, in the wilderness and under a tent.
Do you think that's?
But there are people who do it.
What do you think the consensus in Malaysia is? Maybe, do you think a lot of people camp there or not too many?
I would say a moderate amount.
Moderate. And
Yeah, it's not like super popular, but there are certain groups of people who do it.
Yeah, I tried to search some information on YouTube on like the culture. There's some history which I thought that one, I was more curious about current culture. So the YouTube, oddly, if you search culture and history of Malaysia, the first result is a 20-minute video about the food. Like that, it says culture and history, but the only thing for 20 minutes is about food. It talks about Indian food, Chinese food, and then I think
Malaysia.
the Malaysian food.
And mee goreng.
Yes, me correct. Yeah, we're super big on food actually in Malaysia. That's
I saw the demographics is 60% Malay, 20% Chinese, and 6% Indian. Does that sound correct to you?
Yes, and there's a lot of mix of what we call indigenous cultures in Sabah, Sarawak, which is the west side of Malaysia, Borneo. So those guys have like so many different ethnicities mixed up. So yeah, it's if you categorize broadly, then yes, and then there's this wide group of people in Sabah, Sarawak. So the majority, it's Malay.
Is Malay like is there a big mixture of Indian and Chinese in the Malay nowadays? Like, meaning, is it pure Malay? Are they pure Malay, or is it kind of spread out where maybe 50% of the Malay are either Chinese or Indian?
Okay. This is kind of
You're gonna get him in trouble.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me just to be honest. Race is a very touchy subject in Malaysia, so I'm going to try to tread carefully here. But yeah, these days there are a lot of mixes. What called, for example, Chindians, which are Chinese and Indians.
I like it, Chindians.
Yeah. So there are a lot of mixtures. Definitely, you can't avoid it because we've been integrated for so many years. Like 60 plus years of independence. We've been here for very, very long, and but there is like definitely some groups that are pure Malay or pure Chinese and non-mixed. But yeah, so when you become like Chindian, you are categorized under others. So we have to mark like a ethnicity box in our forms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you are Chindian, you mark others or line. So those guys are line, and the rest of us are Malay, Chinese, Indian.
So do you feel a Malaysian heritage and nationalism, or do you feel one particular, I'm assuming Indian in your case, do you feel more Indian heritage that is more, which do you feel more, or does it not work that way? Is it more complicated than that for you?
Okay, it's definitely complicated, but personally, I feel more Malaysian definitely, because number one, I've never been to India.
Yeah.
So when people say, sometimes there's this, racial conflict that goes on here, and then people say,
yeah,
you guys should go back to India and stuff like that. But I've never been to India, so
yeah.
I'm born here. I've lived, nearly 30 years here, and this is all I know. So I feel definitely more Malaysian. My closest friends are like, of course, Indians and Malays and Chinese. So I don't see that segregation. So identify first as Malaysian, and then my ethnicity, my culture is Indian.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in Texas, so I'm Vietnamese, and if there's times I hear racial things. I've been fortunate. I've only heard two racial things pointed at me one at me directed in my life, and then one time was an indirect party situation. But in America here, for me, I feel like being born here and then living the way that I've had, I don't think of race initially. Like when I meet someone, like race doesn't come to the forefront of my thought at all. Like that's not even a thought. It's when things arise, if they start saying something racist, or maybe if I ignorantly say something about their race and I don't know that it's racist. But I'm kind of connecting with, I think, what you're saying, how you're born there and you kind of don't see it that way. And that's how I see it in America for me too. Now, I do feel that there are certain things that has happened in my professional career that maybe race was a factor, but as an everyday thing, I don't let it. It's not the first thought in my head when I meet somebody of a different race, different color, or anything. So
I'm only racist when it's funny. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's
and
never
I think
funny.
like, it's definitely it's.
Gotcha. Well, I think Chindian is kind of funny. I do like Chindian. That's my favorite word of the day.
Is there when you said that it's a touchy subject, as in that's something Malaysians or Malaysians aren't?
No, it means he doesn't want to talk about it.
Oh, I was going to ask: is it something you don't want to talk about? Is that the Malaysian culture that doesn't want?
No. It's not that I want. I'm perfectly comfortable about talking about stuff like this, because only in discussing stuff like this can we really like point out the elephant in the room. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Right? But generally in Malaysia, it's a bit of a touchy subject because of the sentiment that's played very often by. I don't want to say the government, but it's a sentiment that's played a lot here, the race card. they're targeted. They when you go into a certain community and in certain politics, in policies, they target certain races. So it's very intertwined in our community, in our culture.
Yeah.
And we can't come out of it completely, but the generation that is the new generation, especially now, is as far as I've seen, is slowly starting to recognize us as Malaysians first, rather than identify with the ethnicities first. But there will always be that lingering sentiment there, and I feel we can't escape that. Because like if you say certain things like in public, you can get in trouble here in Malaysia. So so we are very cautious when we're trading around this subject, even in local media and stuff like that. Very, very careful what to say and stuff like that. So I don't think I've said anything offensive so far. So let's see.
Lim's gonna keep asking until you get in trouble.
No, I'm gonna try to jump. I'm trying to jump away from it.
We got footage.
Since you're first generation Indian in your family, meaning did your parents come from India to Malaysia, or how long has it been?
My grandmother came from Malaysia. From India. So it's been 2 generations. So even my mom and my dad was born here.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 generations.
I'm a first generation Vietnamese.
I see.
Yeah.
I noticed on a map, Malaysia is on a peninsula, and then there's Singapore, and then it's half of an island. Is that an accurate geographical summary of the shape?
An island. It's accurate. I recognize Singapore there, but I'm trying to place the half of the island.
Oh, does it stop at Singapore?
No, isn't it when you said Borneo on the Borneo side? Isn't that
Borneo is kind
separate?
Of not directly below Singapore, but kind of to the right.
Yeah, but isn't that part of Malaysia?
Yes, definitely. It's West Malaysia.
Okay.
So we have no idea why that strange shape. I believe Singapore was probably British influence. They wanted that port there, right? So there's a historical reason for Singapore to be separate. But is there any history to Malaysia and its current shape that would explain?
I'm going to try to be historically accurate as possible. But
as far as you know.
As far as I know, I'm no historian, but Singapore was actually originally part of Malaysia after the independence. And they came out in 1963, if I remember correctly. It was a separation, and we included Sabah and Sarawak. So Singapore was Malaysian, was part of Malaysia, and they came out for reasons that I can't remember.
They wanted to be separate dirty bankers.
But it's a lot involved with the policy and stuff like that. During the time, so Singapore had its own stand, and Malaysia had its own stand. So it sort of had this schism in countries. But
interesting.
So that's how that happened, at least on the surface level.
Yeah. So
excuse me.
I was going to transition to accounting. Do you want to talk about
Let me just ask one more question. Have you traveled to the Borneo side, or are you on the Borneo side? And have you traveled?
No, I'm on the other side. It's called Peninsula Malaysia. I've planned to travel to Borneo, but I've never done so. I actually planned to this year, but then COVID, so those plans got cancelled.
Bummer.
Yeah, but it's beautiful there. I mean, I've heard, as far as I've seen pictures and stuff, it's beautiful there.
Yeah. So you were going to go on a nice vacation?
It's very in Borneo. It's very more rustic than here, than in Peninsula, because Peninsula is more developed, and there's more cities and towns here. But if you want to look at the real nature of Malaysia, the preserved kind of forest, the rainforest, tropical things, Borneo is the place to go.
Nice.
So,
all right, you could transition to accounting.
Does anybody want to talk about accounting?
Accounting, finance, and then eventually cryptocurrency.
Okay. Tharmaraj's day job is accounting, right? Monday through Friday, you're an accountant.
Yep.
So my degree is in accounting here in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So I did it for years at a couple different places. Well, a bunch of different places, but long story short, 6 years as an accountant, and I went crazy and didn't want to do it anymore. But I'm curious, are you aware of any differences in accounting between Malaysian and U.S. accounting? Like, I know exactly what U.S. accounting is, but I couldn't tell you if anything's different in Malaysia, or is it the same, or is it just add, subtract, and keep track of everything, or? Are
I'm
you
sure
aware? Yeah.
I've never done US accounting, but as far as I know, the fundamentals are pretty much the same, except I guess there are different standards. Like you guys use GAAP, right?
Right.
GAAP.
Right.
We don't here we follow the Malaysian Financial Reporting Standards or IFRS, otherwise known as MFRS. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there are slight differences, but at the core of it, it's pretty much the same, I guess.
Yeah,
As far as I
probably
know.
the most interesting thing to me was in the late 90s, Japan had a economic, I don't know, collapse or economic trouble because of the way they were doing their accounting. But it was huge, and it caused a lot of economic trouble, and it spread to the rest of Asia at that time as well. So it was a difficult time for Asia economically. And the thing was, in Japan, if you owned property like land or a building, and that property went up in value, you could count that as profit. You could say, hey, my building's worth, a lot more now, so I'm gonna say we made some money on our building, even though it's just on paper. Nothing has happened. The building's still there. You haven't sold it. You haven't done anything differently. You're just going to the building every day. So that appreciation in property being taken as revenue it would be very unusual in American eyes. In American GAAP standards, you wouldn't ever do that. But somehow that was normal in Japan at the time, and then they had a big property run up, and then at some point it kind of collapsed because there's nothing there. The increased value of your building doesn't count as anything unless you sell it. So yeah, so
it's kind of like mark-to-market accounting or something like that.
Yeah. So that's why I asked. There are interesting cases where different practices will lead to different results.
You did your own podcast for a while, and you're still doing it, right? Cash Cow?
Yes, Cash Cow.
What made you want to start that?
Because he loves cows.
Or cash.
It's got two guesses.
I don't have any particular affinity for cows.
Damn it.
But yeah, I started it because actually I've been wanting to do it for a while, like just talk about personal finance and accounting and stuff like this. So I was divided between making like videos and or an Instagram page, and I thought, why not just do a podcast? Like
Yeah.
That's a thing, right? So I thought Cash Cow, why not? And, and that's when I started it. It's quite new. It's fairly new. It's only been a year, I think.
I want to make a T-shirt that says, "I do not have any particular affinity for cows."
that's a nice catchphrase.
Yes. That summarizes my life philosophy.
Do you think podcast is kind of a growing phenomenon globally, or do you think I was kind of thinking it was more in America, but now that the way you said it, I'm thinking maybe even in Malaysia too.
Yeah, I think it's growing all over. I think it's becoming very popular nowadays, especially we're starting to realize that the attention span of people is not as short as we thought. It used to be like 3 seconds video or 15 seconds video. But we realized that people can actually sit and listen to a podcast for 3 hours, like like this one, or Joe Rogan's podcast, I think an hour plus or 3 hours, right?
3 hours,
So we realized that, and I guess more and more people are starting to do it, and I think it's great. It's a different kind of it's something that allows you to listen while you're doing something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's what I like about podcasts.
That's actually when I said America, I thought America's liking for podcasts was due to people commuting to work. Say you're stuck in the car for an hour and a half in the morning, and then an hour and a half in the evening. I thought that's people listening to a 3-hour podcast. They do part one while they drive to work, and then part two when they drive home. Or maybe if their commute's 45 minutes, so 45 minutes in the morning, and then throughout their workday, like you said, they could work and listen, because a lot of people are working in offices behind at a desk, behind a computer all day long. So I thought podcast was something that was I was thinking more American in its desire, I thought.
It's because you're ethnocentric.
Yeah. I'm ignorant. But I mean, as working in offices, that seems to probably be a global thing. I mean, farming is maybe less and less globally. I actually don't know.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot less farmers. But even if you're a farmer, you could be listening,
Yeah.
That's true.
Driving a tractor, listening to podcasts.
thinking deep thoughts.
Yeah. That's true.
You could be listening to the cash cow.
Cash cow. Yeah. I started listening because of commuting to work as well. So like I have an hour and a half drive to work.
Oh,
wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah. So I thought, why not? This is the best time to listen.
Yeah. So your podcast, Cash Cow, is spelled KAW instead of COW. Is that a translation thing, or what's going on with the KAW?
Okay, so the KAW, it's pronounced cow, and it's actually a Malaysian word for extra. So an example of how you would use it is you'd go to the shop, the restaurant, and you'd order like coffee cow, an Nescafe cow, for example. And when you say Nescafe cow, it means make it thick, make it like extra, give it a kick, an extra,
like
extra,
stronger or
strong.
larger.
Yes, extra
Okay,
strong.
stronger.
So, and if you say Nescafe cow, it means a really strong coffee where they put in more coffee powder.
Nice.
So I use that, and I think the word comes from Chinese or something. I don't know the etymology behind it, but anyway, I came up with this whole thing where it rhymes with cow, and it plays on cash cow, which is the the BCG matrix, the cash cow, and then there's the stars and the dogs. So cash cow, and then my cousin suggested this logo and this name and tie it together. So it is kind of a thing. Right? It came from that.
What would you say is generally the topic of your podcast? Are you giving Malaysians financial advice, or what are you doing?
Oh, definitely not. I'm not. I think every so-called financial content creator would say this, but whatever I say is not financial advice, but it's rather I've heard that in one of your podcasts, talking about cryptocurrency. Very clear. This is not financial advice. It's just
I go pretty hardcore. I say I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a dumb shit. This is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only.
Yes, exactly. So it's not financial advice. It's just spreading awareness and talking about stuff that I observe.
Okay. Well, so for the U.S., a big problem for us is debt, right? People here tend to spend more than they earn, almost reliably. I mean, most Americans are spending more than they earn, so it's problematic. We have a lot of easy credit, and we can get big loans fairly easily. So it's a wonderful blessing and a privilege and a joy to have money around, but it seems like Americans tend to borrow more than they can pay off in many cases. So that would be a huge topic for America. Are there similar personal finance patterns or trends that you can see in Malaysian people, or is it a similar?
I think debt is, like, for example, debt is a worldwide problem, especially in developing or developed countries. And it's becoming it's becoming increasingly a problem, if you ask me, because there are a lot of things packaged and marketed to sound like it's not debt, but it is. For example, buy now, pay later schemes. Where you buy something and then where you clearly can't afford to pay it off in one go, but because of the payment scheme, you pay it off in few installments. If it's zero interest, it's completely fine, in my opinion. But there are a lot of cases where they put in interest and they don't really, that's not the first thing on the advertising, right? Definitely not. It's not the first thing on the market. It doesn't say like 6% interest, buy now. It says the buy now and pay later first, and the small little corner they'll say 6% interest. So that's increasingly a problem because of these kind of marketing products that are coming out. But I think Malaysians.
That's nothing new here. That's the only way we buy automobiles and mattresses. Apparently, is buy now and pay later.
I mean everything. Refrigerators, freaking kitchen remodelings, absolutely everything seems to be. You could put on a loan. It's just ridiculous.
You can get anything for buy now. I mean, what is it called? Buy now, pay later. Yes. Those kind of things.
By any chance, do you have any relatives in India that you are able to see that perspective? Meaning, so when I go to Vietnam, I'm starting to see the new younger generation they're getting into these loans, get now, pay later type of thing. And I see it a little bit more. I guess the only thing is I'm not really into, like, say my cousins in Vietnam. I don't really get to see their bills. I don't get to see how they're paying it. But as I hear them talking about it, I'm pretty sure some of them are they're buying some of these mopeds on a loan, or they're starting their business on a loan, which I guess that's probably, I would say that's different when I say that in Vietnam, because Vietnam was so much more back in the past. You just buy a cart, you get one cart, you do your food on that cart. And then if you start saving up enough money, then you maybe buy a second cart. And once maybe you get 6 carts, then maybe you go buy a building. But nowadays it's about borrowing that money to start your first business or your second business, whatever it is. So I feel like I'm seeing the Western trend even start to go in Vietnam. Do you happen to hear or see that either through the years in Malaysia, or have you heard of stuff in India?
I actually don't have any contact with any relatives in India, so I'm not sure what happens around there. But yeah, in Malaysia, it's definitely a thing.
He couldn't even tell you where Hyderabad is.
I don't know what that is. Is that a city?
Hyderabad.
I think it's a state. Is it a state or is it a city?
I don't know.
My gosh. I'm putting my ancestors to shame. How?
You're Malaysian now.
You're Malaysian. Yes.
So in essence, maybe in Malaysia, do you see that ramping up the Western culture of that, or has that always been there? Do you see the people get now, pay later type of thing?
I think it's definitely more a thing now. Back then, it was usually just the big stuff, like houses, cars, those kind of things. Undeniably, you have to get a loan, right? There's no way you can pay cash for those things. So it's always been a norm. But these days, like I said, it's going for every single thing, like from your mattress to your fridge, your refrigerator. So it's a bit of an issue here, and these days in Malaysia, the economy is not how to put this in a in a nice way. Our income is not increasing, in the right rate as what the prices are increasing. Inflation is increasing much more than our salaries.
Oh yeah, we know that story.
America's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's probably the same there. So a person like me, at this age, like when my dad was this age, he'd already bought a house. He already bought, he's raising kids. My mom wasn't working at the time, so so it's different. And now if I think I want to do those things, it's going to be super hard. Super hard. So yeah, it's an increasing gap nowadays. So that's another issue that Malaysians are facing.
Yeah, you don't want kids anyway, though.
Yeah, not now.
Is it a part of your family culture at all? Like, say, if your grandparents or your parents, as you grow older, are you supposed to set aside monthly income for your grandparents or parents? Or I think as Western culture, I think I hear Vietnamese people who look at America and they're like, oh, Americans don't know how to save money to give to their parents or their grandparents. Is there something like that in your culture, or Malaysian, or the Indian culture that's in your family at all?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely have to give money to your parents. I mean, it's an Asian thing, I guess. It comes from our Asian culture. So here we are very big on filial duties. Like, you have to take care of your parents until, they pass away, and be with them, and definitely provide for them in their older years. So yeah, is it a thing there as well in American culture?
No, a lot of people hate their parents.
Yeah.
I think you guys move out from your homes like pretty young, right? As far as
Correct.
Yeah.
read and watched movies and stuff.
It's a very independent lifestyle. Like when you become an adult, it gets very independent very quickly. Looking at it stepping back and looking at it, yeah, it's kind of shitty. Like we don't feel any need or social pressure to provide for our parents or our grandparents. In fact, a lot of people are looking for more from their parents. So like, oh, help me with this, and where's my inheritance, and am I going to get the house when you die? And it's a really shitty way to look at your your parents and grandparents. It's
Though I would kind of add to that though, and maybe maybe you could add to it from the Malaysian economics of inflation, anyways. But let me. So I think that idea in America, maybe back, I'm theorizing. So somewhere between the 50s and the 80s, somewhere as the inflation's gone up and the wages haven't, I think people's reliance or desire to have their parents' house probably gone up because, I mean, you can't afford a house easily nowadays. So that's going to be a natural evolution of that situation. So I think as younger kids now in America, they can barely afford a car. I mean, if the minimum wage is $8 an hour, how are you going to afford a $32,000 car? That's just mind-boggling, the inflation rate. Or, well, I don't know. That's not just inflation only. I don't know if there's a economic term for that where wages aren't going up as fast as products like cars, homes, and all these other things that people tend to buy and put themselves in debt. But I think that's change. So in America, probably when back in the 50s, like I'm guessing maybe back in the 50s when you're 18, you go to college, it's a little bit easier to handle your bills and stuff. But nowadays I mean, hell, going to college now at 100.
Well, yeah, but in the 50s, only rich kids went to college.
But you could get out with not go to college. So you could not go to college, get minimum wage, and minimum wage was enough to
raise a family. Yeah.
To raise a family and and a house. Yeah.
That's true.
Nowadays, there's no way you would get a house. I don't think you could get a house, raise a family, and pay a car on minimum wage here. So I think things have changed.
It would be difficult.
Yeah, it'd be crazy difficult. So I think
highly unlikely.
So I think kids moving out early, that was probably, I'm guessing, due a little bit by part of the economic situation and.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The past that shapes our cultures.
Do you see that changing in Malaysia through the years as inflation and then maybe how much money the kids can give to the parents as they get older? Do you see that changing?
Yeah, definitely. It's undeniably a thing because, like you said, income and the gap between income and cost of living is increasing. So there will definitely be, even if it's not, you don't mention it out loud, there will definitely be an inherent desire to get something out of your parents, like a house or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's this thing, but thankfully in Malaysia we still have a lot of strong Asian culture where we live with our parents. Like even myself, I'm nearly 30, but I still live with my parents. I do pay for the stuff, the house rent and stuff like that. But yeah, I still live with my parents, so it's not a big deal here.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a difference. So in the U.S., it would have been unusual. But because Americans aren't staying home to help their parents or to remain a strong family unit, they're staying to be a dependent. They're saying, why struggle? Why go out into this battle if I can stay here and be protected and taken care of? And I literally know, I can think of two right off the top of my head, but probably a handful of people in their 30s and 40s that they didn't say as much, but literally they're just skating by, doing whatever job they're doing, and they're really waiting for their parents to die because they know those assets will come to them.
Okay.
And not in a mean way, but in a I don't have to struggle in life way because I know there's some inheritance sitting for me.
I see.
Yeah, so it's really, I don't know. I think that's a waste of a life. Like you could have pursued something or tried harder instead of waiting around for your ticket to arrive. So. Not gonna name any names.
I think we do have that in Malaysia as well, but we don't it kind of plays a factor in decisions lah. Like they say, okay, I'm not going to buy a house, and if you ask them why, they say, no, when once my parents pass away, the house it goes to me. So why should I buy a house now? This kind of thing. Yeah, so it's quite similar here.
Yeah, I think in America, it's so expensive. I don't know what I would think if I was a 18-year-old right now in America, seeing that, seeing house prices at what $500,000 if you're in California,
that was literally me in San Diego 20 years ago, right? So it was a similar situation. I had no prayer of ever getting a house, so I bought a car instead.
Yeah. Just to be happy.
Yeah, it was a great car. It's a Corvette. I don't know if you know cars, but it's like a sports car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, faster than anybody should drive on the street. But
that was your way of rebelling. Not even rebelling against the system. Just saying fuck you to the system.
Yeah, just like I can't get a house. Why am I working then? Like, not that the house is the only thing that you should do, but it's a strange because you grow up in school and you get fed all of these kind of stories about what life is or what it should be or what adulthood's going to be like, and it's a very vague story that gets transmitted to you, and then you, especially with an accounting degree, you come out and you look at the details and you go, you know what, this doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. There's no way, coming out of college with a decent salary that I could jump into that housing game. So not that I was dying to, it just wasn't a possibility. So
I see.
Yeah.
You guys, either of you guys know the answer to this, is if someone were to, like, say, if I was on YouTube and I said
42.
I was going to say what percentages on your portfolios. So say if you come out of college and for whatever reason someone's planning, okay, they're going to probably get like $40,000 out of college. That's going to be their salary. And then if I made a video on YouTube that said that you should probably plan that 40% is probably just going to go into rent or something. If I said that and then said you should also put 15% into like your 401k if you can, is that considered financial advice in the world of YouTube, or can I make a video and say that, or do I have to say I'm not a financial advisor?
Yeah, you can't be giving financial advice.
That is financial. I was thinking that financial advice only applies to like stocks, I thought. I don't know. That's what I'm asking you guys.
Yeah,
you can be construed as financial advice, right?
Yeah, when you start talking about 401ks and percentages of income, you're getting close. You're right on that. You're right on that line.
That's too bad. Yeah. It feels like that should be, if we're having such a problem in the United States with people and their finances, they don't know how to control it and they keep on getting loans.
They keep listening to these financial advisors.
The bad ones, yeah.
The accredited ones. The problem in the U.S. is that financial advisors in the U.S. are oftentimes salesmen, right? They'll sell you into some financial plan that is probably good for you, but they're making a commission by doing this plan. They're not really saying, Tharmaraj, I see your situation, you're making this much. If I were you, this is the smartest thing you could do. What they're going to say is, we have a plan set up just for you. This is our long-term 40 horizon plan. So if you use this plan, you'll be in great shape. Just keep contributing and putting your money in there. And then what they don't tell you is that, I get a commission check once your money starts going into that financial product.
Yeah, so they suddenly try to push the highest commission items to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Damn, even in Malaysia, that's going on like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's common in every when your salary, when your income depends on commission. I mean, there's going to be people that forgo the interest of the clients for the interest of themselves, right? So
yeah, mattress salesman.
Yeah, exactly. And like, why would I sell you something that's the best for you when I can sell you something that's indirectly the best for me and get something out of it, right?
Yeah. I can say that the way I look at it, kind of touching on your question, is what really happens is at some point you transition into being an adult, right? You're not a kid anymore. You're independent and you're not dependent on some parents to take care of you. So you really have to figure out how to pay your bills. You have your costs, your monthly costs, right? You need housing and food and gas and whatever else you need, insurances. You add up the list. There's a dozen things you need to pay for every month. So you go out and you get some job because you need to pay for these things. So most people will get a job and then stick in that job and pay their bills. But really what you need to do is minimize your monthly costs. So from an accounting perspective, if you can minimize your costs, right? You go, is it worth shopping around to save $20 on car insurance? Yeah, if it's $20 times 12 months a year, then you just saved $240. And it doesn't seem like much, but you multiply that times 100 different decisions in your life. Now you're starting to add up your savings. So you don't want to spend foolishly or recklessly, of course. Like we all want to when we're young. There are all these temptations, all these great offers. Buy it now, right? So, but if you can minimize your costs, and then in your occupation, in your job, in your income, if you're always looking for some way to make more money, because if you just live and pay your bills, then you're really not getting anywhere. It's not until you have some money above your costs that you even have any freedom to figure out what to do with extra money. And that's the real game, I think, if you start with nothing, is minimize your costs, maximize your income, and then you have some bankroll to start to invest or build wealth or try to do whatever, if you want to start a business or whatever it is in your heart, then, that's the game, really, as opposed to...
But that concept that you're talking about is something that I feel should be taught in high school.
It isn't here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not taught
exactly.
here. Is that something by chance taught in Malaysia at all in high school?
I don't know about these days, but when I was going to school, it was taught, but as a very brief and passing subject. It's one of those things where you don't really pay attention to. There's your history, your sciences, your maths, and all these random other subjects that, apart from the STEM subjects that you pay attention to. But this was, kind of like a side note mentioned in one of the subjects. Yeah. But if you ask me, it should be more of a focus. There should be something like...
Oh, yeah. It's so important.
How to pay your taxes, what to expect when you come out from college, what do you expect when you come out to the working force. These kind of things should be taught more. And it wasn't when I was growing up. So I don't know if it is now. I might be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah,
you don't hang around high schools over there?
I hear from like current teachers in elementary schools or high schools that finance here in America, they still don't do that stuff. So I mean, for me, when I got out of high school and then jumped about the age of 18 or 19 was when I lived on my own. So then that was a huge, I had no idea what to expect because the unfortunate circumstances for me, I jumped right in and I didn't have a choice. So I had to pay for rent right away. And I didn't know the cost of what rent was going to be, what ratio of my paycheck was going to go to rent, car insurance, health insurance. And that just came all at once. It was just kind of crazy for me. Growing up, like my parents or my aunts and uncles didn't quite explain in detail, it's probably going to be, 40% on this, 10% on this, and this is your monthly cost. They didn't quite explain that to me. So it was a huge shock to me. I wish somebody would explain that to me when I was younger, but I'm assuming I'm not, that's a common thing. I'm assuming that's very common. Most kids, were you guys like that? Or, well, you took, both of you took accounting, so maybe I'm asking the wrong people.
Well, I mean, they don't teach that in accounting school either. They're showing you how to enter your debits and credits and how to evaluate stocks in a corporation and
exactly.
Yeah, I could say this: Americans seem to be unnaturally focused. I mean, this might be from the old days, but Americans are very unnaturally focused on saving electricity. Like if you're leaving lights on or, if electricity is running in your house for some reason, which is kind of crazy because the actual cost on electricity here is pretty cheap. So the magnitude of the response is very disproportionate. like somebody could freak out about leaving a light on. I was like, that light bulb that cost 2 cents an hour, like 2 pennies an hour to leave that light on. Like, who cares? What's 2 pennies? I could leave it on all day. You know what that would cost? 48 cents. So it's a weird overreaction that generationally, I think, is very. I think Americans are spending a lot of emotional energy saving electricity.
Maybe electricity was more expensive back then. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
So your parents tell you don't leave the light on, and it sort of ingrains in your brain that you shouldn't leave the light on.
Yeah.
If you apply it today, that's probably what what's happening.
For Cash Cow, what was the most recent episode about?
The most recent episode.
What advice did you not give to anybody? Financially speaking.
what advice would I not give to anybody?
No, on that episode. On the
Oh,
what advice was not?
Okay.
What advice did not happen?
What was the last episode? My gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. Was it crypto? No, it wasn't crypto. I don't think so.
Crypto's the answer.
Crypto.
Give me a second. Let me just check. I think it was dollar cost averaging. Yep, it was all about dollar cost averaging.
Oh, okay.
Because I was actually having a conversation with one of my family members about dollar cost averaging. So I thought, hey, I haven't done an episode on that, so why not?
Nice.
What's your kind of summary of that? Well, what is, okay, for me as a dummy, what is dollar cost averaging?
If you were not going to give advice to Liem, how would you explain?
So I'm going to start by saying this is not financial advice. Yeah, but you guys probably know of this, but just to give a summary, dollar cost averaging is essentially, averaging out your risk. Like, instead of, for example, in crypto, if you're buying like Ether or something, you don't buy at the dips or you don't buy at the peaks. You just put $50 in it every single month as a disciplined thing and forget about it. And the risk will be spread out over the course, especially something as volatile as crypto, right? So it'll be sort of evened out the risk over time. So that's in a nutshell what dollar cost averaging is. And then that's what I talked about in my last episode.
Oh, I don't know dollar cost averaging that much. It's just I had some cousins on a text message thread about crypto, and as crypto was crashing down in the last few weeks, one cousin texted out, "Oh, you got a dollar cost average," and I was trying to extrapolate what he meant by that. I thought he was saying, so that I'm guessing that means to buy as it's dropping down. Is that what he is trying to?
I would put it like this, like if you're going to buy some stock in Tesla, right? So you're going to buy some Tesla stock. A lot of people do that, right? And you want to buy it today, and you go, shoot, if I buy it today, if it goes up, great. But if it goes down, then shit, I'm at a loss, right? So if I go buy a bunch of Tesla stock, now I'm kind of like, I have anxiety because I don't know if it's going to go up or down, and it's kind of risky. Shoot, what do? I know in the long run, Tesla's going to go up. So how do I know when to buy? And you go, you know what? Forget all that. Just buy, whatever you can afford every month or every week. So buy your one share a week or whatever you can afford. And it doesn't matter where it's at this week and then next week and the following week. So if you bought it high this week, low the next week, and then even lower the next week, and then high the following week, what you would say is, instead of counting my ups and downs and tracking where all the money went, I'll just say, well, altogether I have 4 shares, and on average they cost me $238.
Oh,
so you're averaging the cost, the dollar cost of those shares. So instead of worrying about the up and down, you can say, you know what, I buy all the time. I buy when it's high, I buy when it's low, and in the long run it'll go up. So it doesn't matter what it's doing. I'm just going to buy it whenever I can and trust that in the long run it'll go up. So that's my understanding of dollar cost averaging.
And a lot of people say it works better than buying the dip. Yeah, so there was actually an article that was put out a while back. It's called "Even God Couldn't Beat Dollar Cost Averaging." I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a pretty blasphemous title, but
literally.
I can just imagine, like our Asian parents' reaction, and oh my God, what are you saying?
God is a terrible investor.
God is a terrible investor. He lost all his money in crypto.
He bought Tron dogs.
But that was an interesting article. It says, it talks about how there was this so-called God investor where they extrapolated the data of this sort of omniscient investor who could only buy the dips, and they compared that to someone who DCA'd over the period of a certain investment, and apparently the DCA did better. So yeah, that was quite interesting to see. And, consider in DCA as but again, not financial advice. This is just what I read.
Do not use an omniscient computer program to invest with. Or do. I don't know. Do whatever you were going to do. Don't listen to us.
I was thinking about asking, in Malaysian culture, do you think people spend the same amount rent and or cars that Americans do. But I'm gonna guess. I mean, it's gonna everybody's gonna have their own comfort range on how much they spend on rent every month and how much they spend on a car. So it's gonna range. I was thinking about asking, is there an average? But I think nobody will know that. Meaning, is the average in Malaysia? Do you think people spend more for a home or a rent than Americans do? Any thoughts on that? I think the answer is like, there's no way to answer that, but.
I'm really not sure how it compares to Americans, but yeah, we do spend a lot on like rent and cars. I mean, it's somewhat of a necessity here, especially if you don't live in like the city. The city, you have public transport and you can commute and stuff like that.
How about how about like monthly subscriptions, Amazon, Netflix, movie subscription, music subscriptions? Do you see people living beyond their means in Malaysia?
Yeah, sometimes, but Netflix subscription is quite reasonable here. It's like, if I'm not wrong, I might be misquoting this, but and I think it's between 10 to 30 ringgit, which is around how many USD? Like 3 to 7 USD, around that range.
Oh.
So
you're watching Captain America for a lot less than we are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much Netflix subscription is in the US.
That's
I think it's about $15 here, I think.
Yeah, I was wrong. Captain America's on Disney. Sorry, wrong.
Yes.
You know, I'm gonna search that. I'm really curious on how much it is in America versus Malaysia.
Oh,
but it's quite affordable here. So you can actually get a Netflix and you can split it with your friends or family. You know, and you can. It's quite affordable actually.
So an economist would call this a Netflix parity index.
Parity. Okay, so the basic Netflix. The basic Netflix here is $8.99, so $9, but that's only 480p. So I'm guessing most people pay for the $14 one, which is 1080p.
480p. Who lives in 480p?
Yeah, that seems ridiculous. So how many? Can you look up how much Netflix is there in Malaysia? I'm actually really curious right now.
So 14 USD is 56 ringgit, which is quite expensive.
No, 14. 14.
Oh, 14. Yeah, 14. Yeah, 14 USD is 46 ringgit here.
Oh, and then how much is Netflix over there?
Let me just search this up. Netflix.com.
Okay. We're getting very accurate.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because then.
Okay, so it says here, the Netflix mobile plan is 17 ringgit per month. Okay, so I think I'm a bit wrong here. The mobile plan is 17. The basic plan is 35. The standard plan, I don't know how that differs with the basic plan, is 45, and the premium plan is 55. Oh. So yeah, if you get the premium and standard, it's a bit expensive, but the basic is 35, which is quite cheap, especially if you share with people. I think it's quite cheap.
Yeah.
Like even if you share with two people, it's like, you know.
Yeah. Now you got to get those friends to cough up money though.
So the so the standard here, that's $14, is $10.74 over there. But do you think most people are using the standard or just the basic, do you think? I'm imagining in America, everyone would do standard because 1080p, no one would want to use 480p in America.
I don't think people would want to watch 480p here as well. I
can tell you this, Americans are buying gigantic TVs on credit.
Yeah.
I see. We're sort of doing the same thing, but
like nearly the size of your wall. They're buying ridiculously. It's weird because every year, like, you know, bigger is better, and it's never big enough. So it's a weird game. Because when you're sitting there watching it, is it really? Do you really need a bigger TV? So,
as an accountant, what is, in your opinion, the first fundamental thing someone has to learn about financials before they make any investment?
Well, accounting is about tracking what happened, not looking forward.
Okay.
Exactly. But at the same time, that being said, I think the first fundamental thing is to learn how to read, especially dealing with stocks, stocks specifically. The first thing is to understand how to read financial statements, how to read the annual reports, stuff like that. So if you understand, you don't need to read the whole thing back to cover to cover, but at least have basic understanding of the 4 financial statements. Then you can, pick up things like what is EBITDA, and why is this company, talking so much about the EBITDA and stuff like that. you learn only if you understand, excuse me, the financial reports. So that's probably one of the first things. And you have to have some basic knowledge of like financial terms, like accruals, deferrals, stuff like that. If you're investing into stocks as a first investment.
What was the best financial investment that you've done?
Best.
Or worst, either one.
My education.
I might should invest in myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's like okay. I think the best investment in terms of return, definitely. Like okay. I think you should take this in like two areas because cryptocurrency returns is very different from like stock returns. So I think the best stock I bought was actually a banking stock in Malaysia. It's one of the blue chips here in Malaysia, and even I bought it when it was at a low in in March 2020 when COVID hit us for the first time. So everything was going down, and I thought, okay, this is a good time to buy like super good companies, and it's performing well today.
Nice.
That's probably my best investment besides crypto.
You own the bank.
I own a small part, maybe a tile on the floor. That's your tile.
Very profitable tile.
What about the worst? What are some of the horror stories you had within investing?
What investment do you regret the most?
I think that's quite an easy answer for me because I actually it is quite recent actually. There was an acquaintance that told me about this cryptocurrency. It's a coin, and it's one of those like pardon my language, but it's one of those shit coins or meme coins.
Feel free to cuss as much as you want.
Safe moon. Safe moon.
And it wasn't Safe Moon. It was a coin called I don't know if I should mention it, but I think those guys don't really care. They won't see this, but it's called Safe Pluto 69.
What?
Safe Pluto 69.
Okay.
It's this ridiculous looking coin. Yeah. Looking back, it was like if you guys get the chance, I think you should just Google the image of what the logo of the coin looks like. It's actually Pluto from Disney. Was it, sorry, Disney? Was it Disney? Yeah, Disney, like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Oh,
so Pluto from Disney, and his face was actually his teeth was actually replaced with Takeshi 69's teeth, like the orange and the multicolored teeth. And it looked ridiculous, and there was the big words "Safe Pluto 69." So the guy said, "Okay, guys, this is a coin that's going to go up, and but put in money that you can afford to lose." He did say that, lah. So
yeah.
So I thought, okay, why not? I at the time I just sold a bunch of my Ether. So Ethereum is, I think, one of my best investments. So I sold it off at the time because it was at a high. So I thought, why not use like 50, 60 ringgit to just try this? Like, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I think I lost like 90% of my investment because there was actually there was one of the developers who actually ran off with the key, the public key or something, a private key or something like that. Like it's a whole horror story, and people lost 90% of the investment. And I was lucky because I put in like $50, which is less than a day's work. But there are people who put in like thousands and lost like so much. So I feel really bad seeing those guys, man.
Well, I think it's terrible that this tarnishes the image of Pluto, the character, and also Takeshi 69 as the rapper.
Exactly.
It's unfair to them to have their public image dragged through the mud.
It was a real fun story.
Don't bet on rapper teeth.
Yes, if that's the takeaway from that, you shouldn't bet on that. Looking back, it was like kind of obvious if you look at the logo, and it's kind of like.
Hey,
deep down.
Does it count as financial advice if you tell people what not to buy? Don't buy anything.
I don't know. You tell me. What are the laws on that?
This is not financial advice. So I'm telling you not to buy this.
Yeah, but that was by far my worst investment in terms of percentage of losses.
Fantastic.
What on a bad financial? Have you had bad financial choices that you've done and stories behind that?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're younger, you make a lot of bad financial decisions. I think everyone does at some point, right? You pay
What
too
were
much
some
for
of
something.
yours?
Are you talking about dating or nightclubs?
Yeah, a bit of both. So I can't think of any particular like really terrible financial decisions I made. I've always been a bit thrifty with my money.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had that since I was young. So a lot of my friends find that annoying actually. It's like, why don't you spend more money? And but yeah, that's thankfully because of that, I've never had any like crazy impulsive purchases. Like I've never like, gone, woke up in the middle of the night and like bought, I don't know, an expensive shirt or something. But yeah, I mean, everyone has bad financial decisions.
I
just
got
can't
in
think of any.
when I was in my 20s. I got in trouble with credit cards. I ended up with more credit cards than I could pay off. Like you're talking about interest and borrowing. I don't feel too bad about it though, because the majority of it went to like school expenses, like buying books. Buying books at that time here in the U.S. was really expensive. Like you'd pay your tuition and all these costs. You'd have to pay for parking, and then somehow there's this giant bill for books that you'd have to. So back before the internet, you had to buy a giant stack of books every semester to follow along in class. And then a lot of car repairs. My car was, as I was finishing college, my car was getting old and I was having to repair it fairly frequently. So the majority of my credit card debt was stuff like that. So it wasn't like I went out and did crazy fun stuff with it. So I did get to a point where I wasn't able to keep up with it and had some defaults and stuff, but I don't feel bad because it wasn't stupid shit I bought. It wasn't a giant TV.
You invested in yourself.
Yeah, except that one giant TV we bought.
Yeah, I got into credit card debt. That was stupid. One little thing thinking back as we were just all talking, I remember selling out my 401k at one point because I think I lost the job. Back then, what was this? 2004? 2000? Shoot, I don't even remember. 2007? Gosh, I just remember it was around $3,000. So I'm wondering now, if around 2008, if I would have kept that $3,000 in, what it would be now.
You kept it from 2008 to 3008?
No, from 2008 it was $3,000.
Okay,
we kept it if I would have kept it till now to 2021.
13 years later.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it might have quadrupled.
Yeah, $10,000 over.
That's a rough guess.
So then I guess now I'm glad I went into crypto instead of.
It quadrupled yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Before it crashed again. How did you first become aware of cryptocurrency? What was your first interaction and awareness of something called cryptocurrency?
My first interaction was in 2018. So my cousin told me about this thing called Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And at the time, when I was like, what is this coin, Bitcoin, and what we're talking about? At the time, I didn't know anything about crypto. I mean, I did read about it and stuff like that. So, but my cousin told me about this thing. He said he's going to invest, and he asked if you guys want to come in on it and put some money down. So I was a bit iffy about it. I was like, I don't know. I don't really understand this thing, so I'm probably going to sit it out.
Yeah.
At the time, I remember he sent me an article. It was, can Bitcoin break 5,000 USD?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, at the time, it didn't make sense. That would be crazy. But looking back, I showed him the message the other day, and I was like, look at this. Do you remember sending me this in 2018?
Yeah.
Imagine if we bought, like, we went all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first, like, sort of foray with crypto. And then from then, I started reading about it and stuff like that. And only got around to investing in it in 2020. So that's when I got up the courage to do it.
But lately, crypto, Bitcoin's been sucking down at like $30,000, right? It's been terrible.
Yeah. 6x from the $5,000, 6 or 7x from $5,000, and it's sucking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you run your own. So you run your own business. What are some some challenging things and some success stories from that.
Wait, what's your business?
Okay, it's a business I run in my family. It's called Eagle Swings Nursing.
Oh, was that something you didn't want to mention the name?
No. That's my day job.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm completely fine with my business, but my day job, I'd rather not say the,
Okay.
well, yeah, but Eagle Swings Nursing, and we provide private nurses to homes and caregivers. Homes and hospitals and stuff like that, and physiotherapy, acupuncture, those kind of nursing and healthcare services. That's our business.
So outside of your 40-hour-a-week day job, you're running a nursing staffing service where you can send a nurse of sorts to somebody's home to be a caregiver.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. That's great, man.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have basically my mom is the head of the whole thing. So she runs the whole show. I just help out on the financial stuff.
Yeah.
Paying salary, those kind of things, processing invoices, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the challenging things running that side of it?
There's been a few challenging things. Like first and foremost, the most challenging thing is we run a pretty lean team. Like there's not many people. It's a very small business, so we have to do a lot of different things at the same time. So, for example, last year I think it was a few years back, I actually tried to learn how to design a website on WordPress.
Oh yeah.
And do that, and and sometimes I have to talk to nurses. Sometimes I talk to, but that's not often. It's super rare. But usually my mom does all the talking to the nurses. But yeah, we have to sometimes change roles and it's a bit of a mix. So that's probably one of the most challenging things.
If you want to see what a guy trying to figure out how to make a website on WordPress looks like, go to emvegas.com and you'll see Emmett's website on WordPress.
I'll check it out. EM Vegas.
I meant for our viewing audience, our listening audience.
That's Emmett's real estate website. He tried to do it on WordPress.
I think it's decent, but the funny thing is it's never got me a client. Nobody ever goes to a
WordPress
website.
Is pretty easy to learn, right? It's not as challenging as these days. It's pretty easy to learn this kind of things.
You know what? Here's the disclaimer. Like it looks good now. I think it took me like a year to get to that point.
What were some success stories from dealing with your family business?
Okay, so success stories.
People not dying.
People not dying. People living longer than they should. What is the most there are a few satisfying moments running Eagle Swings. Like, for example, I still remember the time when we had our website done and stuff like that. That was pretty exciting, and we rebranded the whole company image to this new logo and stuff like that.
Nice.
But was it this year? Yeah, I think it was this year. We actually got interviewed on radio, so that was fun. National radio. It was one of the biggest radio stations here in Malaysia, so that was pretty fun.
Nice.
Those are the ones that I can think of.
Awesome.
So it's been a fun journey. Yeah, it's had its challenges and it's had its fun times.
So other people were stuck in traffic listening to you on the radio.
Yeah. And like you got a few messages from like friends. Hey, I heard you on the radio and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. Wait till they see you on this podcast, bro.
Exactly.
Do you do individual accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, auditing, or do you do it just for corporate side?
I do it just for corporate side. I've never done like an individual's taxes or their finances before.
This is it's probably a question for both of you. This online question is, what's the most common misconception about accounting?
Wow, that's a toughie.
I think a lot of people think accountants have some evil intent. They're oftentimes associating accountants with auditors. Like accountants and auditors are out to get you and out to find out, try to find your mistake and punish you for it. But that's not really the case. Accounting is different than auditing. Auditing really is checking that you did everything you were supposed to do to make sure you're not lying on purpose, right? So you can't have people lying about their financial activities. So an auditor is there to check for that. An accountant is there to input what actually happened. So in a business, you're trying to get the numbers right of what actually transpired, right? So how much money did we make? How much money did we spend? How much did it cost us to do this? And so it becomes a very straightforward, kind of a complicated data entry job. You got to know where to put the money that transacted. So when money moves, you're trying to track every movement of money. When you shipped out your product and that customer owes your company money, then you want to account for, hey, we shipped it out, so we've earned it. Now we got to collect the money from that company. Yep. So it's very much a tracking and organizing function. So some people love it. They love getting everything perfect and in its right place. And they know the system and they want everything to be set where it's supposed to be. So those can be great accountants if they love getting everything to match up. What's frustrating sometimes is that a lot of times companies will have software to try to help you with your accounting, which generally it's great to have software that does accounting, but it's often difficult if it doesn't do it well, or if the software is set up for this type of business, but you actually do something differently, and now that software doesn't know how to do what you're actually doing. So now you're doing workarounds, and you're doing more work to try to get it to do what you need it to do. So in the end, programmers are not accountants, so they don't think like accountants. They don't intimately know what the balance sheet looks like. They don't know what credits and debits are really doing. So there can be that mismatch where a programmer has tried to make a great accounting software, but he's not an accountant, so he doesn't think that way.
How dare you make fun of me? At the last company I worked for, I was kind of programming. I was programming their back end data and everything, and then also I had to deal with the accounting. We were trying to get to a point where it automated the system where it could spit out the numbers into the ACH software, the ACH website, but there was challenges. So definitely things I didn't know while getting involved with that on the accounting side.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you, because accounting is actually kind of an unnatural way to think about money or think about things. The double entry part of it doesn't make sense. If I spent $10, I just spent $10. Why can't you just record that I spent $10? Why does it have to fit into this format? Why do I have to enter that twice in two different places? So if you're studying accounting, then don't try to make too much sense of it. Just accept the rules as they come, because it's easier just to accept that cash is going to go on one side and money that you owe is going to go on the other side, instead of thinking about, well, why is it left instead of right? There's no good answer. Don't worry about it. Just accept the way it's written, the way it's told to you, and then accept that there's going to be laws and rules that came from politicians and lawmakers that aren't accountants either. So the laws and regulations they aren't the laws that accountants would have written. They're laws that some politician wrote. So all the tax law and all the rules that you have to follow don't make sense either. So don't try to figure those out. Just accept them as they come, and enjoy the rules of this maze as they're set.
Yeah,
is probably what I would say about accounting.
It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, and if you don't like spreadsheets, don't pick accounting as your profession.
Exactly. They never told me this in uni.
Yeah.
That's not something they tell you.
If you hate spreadsheets, do something else.
Exactly.
If someone's kind of fresh out of high school, out of college, they got their first job. If I were to ask you guys to give them financial advice, how should they break down their rent money, hypothetically rent money, stocks, buying a house, and crypto? How would you prioritize that? How would you personally advise someone financially on that?
Do you want to go first, Emmett?
No, Tharmaraj's turn.
Okay.
I just shot down accounting as a profession. Don't waste your life as an accountant. Don't die in a cubicle. Go be a mattress salesman, goddammit.
Okay, if someone is fresh out of uni, I'm going to assume they don't have that much disposable income. So I'm going to relate this a lot to where I live, right? Because I'm more aware of how much people earn here.
Yeah.
So when you come out of uni, just to give you a general idea, usually you earn about 2,800 ringgit to 2,500 ringgit to 2,800 ringgit. That's pretty high average for someone who is, just out of college. And to give you an idea of how much that is, let me see, 2,800 divide around
$500. Oh,
what, 700, 500 to $700, which
a month.
A month, yeah.
Okay, yep.
A month.
No, I was making sure I understand.
Yeah. So that's how much you earn as a fresh grad. And to be honest, that's really not enough to unless you live with your parents and depend on them for they cook for you in the weekends and stuff like that. Then maybe you can have some disposable income. In which case, you should just buy like safe investments first. That would be my financial advice, but it's not really financial advice now. It's hypothetical financial advice.
Yes.
I don't know how else to phrase this. But yeah,
that was perfect.
Non-financial financial advice.
Correct.
Well, this is hypothetical, so
hypothetical. Yeah. So and they should buy like safe stuff, like because you don't have much. I know when I was fresh out of uni, I didn't have much to invest at all, right? So I put in like stuff like there's this thing in Malaysia called Amanah Saham, which is basically a unit trust, but it's backed by the government. So it's a pretty safe kind of unit trust. And you don't, and there's a fixed unit trust, there's a fixed price unit trust, and there's the variable price unit trust. So the fixed price unit trust is a super safe, super secure investment, which gives you a dividend every year. So that's something that I usually advise for young Malaysians to get into as soon as you're out of uni. You should put in some money there, try to pay off any debt you incurred in uni, for example, credit card debt and stuff like that. You should pay it off as soon as possible, and the rest just invest in safe stuff. And as your salary increases, then you can absorb more risk, you can start getting into crypto, stuff like that. So that would be my personal take on it.
At what point would you suggest for them to get into a house, buying a house or a home? Like, meaning, like maybe should they have $50,000? Should their salary? I know there's so many factors on that, so I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to make it easier. So if their salary at $700 a month has gone up to $1,500 a month, how would you?
That's a big increase.
Yeah. Okay, let's sorry, that's too big of an increase. Let's take it down a little bit. Let's go to.
You have to be having sex with the boss.
Well, no, I wasn't thinking about sex with the boss. I was thinking about, okay, like this is them like hopefully 10 years later. That's what I was kind of my train of thought. Let's take it back. Let's go back to like, let's try 5 years later. So 5 years later, maybe they're at 1,000 a month. 1,000. Does that sound sound realistic?
Reasonable, yeah.
Okay, so if they're at 1,000 a month, what would you suggest now? If they're living with their parents, what would you suggest putting in crypto for or 401k or we might have lost your video. I don't know if you can hear us.
I can see his name on the Zoom call here.
Oh, we lost him.
The government decided we were dancing too close to the advice.
They're saying this is financial advice. We need to cut you off.
I'm sorry. Was that me or was that you guys?
I think it was you, or I think we didn't press anything over here.
Sure. My internet seems fine. Okay, I'm very sorry about that.
No worries.
But I think
So 5 years later, if they're at $1,000 a month, and they're living at home, where should they be putting, whether crypto, government bonds, or safe investments, stocks, and then a home? How would you play that out in your mind at that $1,000 a month in Malaysia?
Okay, $1,000 a month in Malaysia is, I would say, pretty decent salary. Right? You're probably slightly
Rich guy.
above entry level. Rich,
Oh,
not
okay.
not really a rich kid, but
Oh, okay.
you're okay lah. You're doing quite well.
Okay.
So you can afford to put in. You actually at 1,000, yeah, you can afford to buy a decent property. You can afford to buy.
Oh,
It's
take in like because they're
but
gonna probably
yes,
give money to their parents, maybe
exactly.
pay for car insurance. So kind of maybe even walk me through how much you think those is an average cost for people in Malaysia too.
Okay, and let's say an average person in Malaysia, right? So if you're an average person, you have few siblings, which also they also give to your parents every month. So yeah, you're probably gonna give like a few hundred ringgit every month to your parents, and I'm assuming you live with your parents as well, so you don't pay rent.
yeah.
I'm also assuming that your parents cook for you every weekend and stuff like that. So like super average lifestyle. Yeah, you will probably have around like maybe 1,000 to 1,500 ringgit of disposable income, which is, let me do the maths.
Oh, when
Thousand
I
five
is when you said
to
earlier the 700, and then is that tax? And then we went from 700 to 1,000. So is there tax on that too? And then
Oh man, you're hitting him with new questions
Yeah.
before you even get to the first one.
I mean, so
no, you
earlier
have
when
to
you
account for his tax.
earlier when you said 700, was that that wasn't disposable income? That was the actual salary.
Is that your take home or?
Yeah, is that
So okay, let's assume that for simplicity's sake, that's your take home lah. Because at 700 you're not taxed.
Ah,
So yeah, so in Malaysia, if you earn above 30,000 ringgit in Malaysia, you're taxable income.
oh, in the U.S.
might
we
be wrong,
tax
I'm not-
we tax poor people too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but tax here is pretty reasonable. You only get taxed after you earn a certain 30,000. I think is a pretty livable wage. So above that, you get taxed.
Gotcha.
So the first example that I give, you're not taxed. As a fresh grad, usually you don't pay tax for like maybe a year or so until you get an increment or something like that. So the second scenario where 5 years later he gets an increase, then he will definitely have to pay tax. But assuming he gets a good tax return and stuff like that, because he's giving money to his parents, you actually claim for spending for your parents.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. So
Not here in
that's the one-
America. Fuck you, man. Well, I guess there is dependency. If your parents are dependent on you, then you're allowed to claim them on your
yeah.
taxes.
We tend to see more
Yes,
tax
exactly.
tax credits for children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
definitely more
you-
focused on children. Yeah.
Yeah, but here, if you're giving $25 a month to your parents, or even if you're giving $500 a month to your parents, you don't get a tax break on that here.
Yeah.
I see. Here we do, but you have to give proper documentation of what you are spending on. Especially if your parents have like medical conditions and you have to take them to like the hospital and stuff like that. You can claim for all that. It's it's a tax.
Wait, so if you're a parent in Malaysia, is it wise then to have lots of children so that you get more income?
Yes, actually yes.
How many kids do you want?
17 children. I'm rich.
Passive income.
I just make them noodles. They love it.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. There's a huge incentive to have more kids, especially in Asian cultures. Where you are pretty sure that at least most of your kids are going to give something to you when you grow older, right? So
Yeah.
that's probably an incentive. But again, yeah. So that person who has this tax rate and all this, let's assume that he has, for simplicity's sake, let's assume that he has 1,000 ringgit worth of disposable income. After his tax and after giving to his parents and including his tax return or whatever bonuses that he gets every year and stuff like that, let's assume it roughly turns out to about 1,000 ringgit a month. Then buying a house might be a bit difficult. It might be because property is a bit expensive here in Malaysia. So but definitely he can invest in stocks, he can invest in crypto. I mean, 1,000 ringgit is more than enough for all that. You can put a small amount to each basket every month. But property might be a bit out of his range for now.
Okay.
That's the thing.
And then you said after 30,000 ringgits is when the tax comes in? 30,
Yes,
30,000?
but yeah, in case I'm wrong, I just want to say that I'm not a licensed tax.
I'm not a tax advisor either.
Not a tax advisor, so.
I'm also not a doctor. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a mathematician.
Yeah, but yeah, it's 30,000 as far as I recall.
30,000. So that comes out to be 30,000.
Let's do some.
$7,000 a month? 7,000 US a month?
Yes, roughly there.
Ooh, that's pretty big.
Be rich here.
Yeah, you'd be doing real well here.
No, I think your math's wrong.
Did I? Yeah.
Is it what's the I'm not sure, but what's the average wage in like the US?
Somewhere around 50,000 US dollars, somewhere in that ballpark.
50,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
So, but you said 7,000 is a decent wage.
Liem saying if you made 7,000 US dollars a month, you'd be
7,000 US dollars a month is huge.
You'd be pretty rich here.
Yeah.
You'd be driving a brand new BMW.
Yeah. In Malaysia, you'd be like 7,000 USD in Malaysia is what, 35,000 ringgit a month. So okay, sorry, let me be clear. 30,000 was a year annual.
Yes.
Oh, a year.
Yes.
Oh, I thought
So,
you
yeah.
meant. Oh, I thought it was a month.
No, my
Holy
gosh.
cow.
No.
That's a lot.
Then like the top 1% would be taxed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I like the sound of that. It's a great plan.
I'm moving there. Can I stay at your place?
It's 30,000 a year. So yeah, that's 30,000 a month.
Okay, so at 37,000 a year, I'm divided by 12 and months, 7,000. What's that coming out to months? That's less than $600.
Oh, we're back down below graduate pay.
Okay, so you're going to pay taxes. Okay, I see. That's why your comment earlier, you said at the $700 you may not pay taxes, and then it was $1,000 a month, and you start getting into the taxes.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's hard. We're forcing Tharmaraj to translate money on the fly to do currency exchange nonstop here.
I got more currency exchange logic that you got to do. So how much do you think taxes would be on $1,000? How much tax are you paying?
Gosh. You know what? Let me look up the rates. Malaysian tax rates.
Yeah, you can give me the rate, and I'll try to do the percentage. If you give me the
okay. Well, while they're calculating, I cannot give this not advice. Is if you have high interest debt, you want to pay off your debts before you think about investing. So if you have a credit card and you're paying something like 12% on your credit card purchases, then unless you have an investment where you can make more than 12% a year, then you'd be better off paying off your debt. Because say if you owed money on a credit card at 12% and you go invest and you make 10%, great. But now you're still losing money because you didn't pay off that debt, and that's at a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to be aware of interest rates and focus on your big damage items. And that's why I was never super keen on paying off my student loans, because my student loans have always been at like around 3%, which is a pretty low interest rate in general. So I make my payments, and if I pay it off, great. If I don't, then it's only 3%, which is kind of around inflation. So
yeah, yep.
Okay, I have it here. I have the figures.
Okay, what's the rate?
Okay, I'm sorry. I think it wasn't 30,000. It was 20,000. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a mistake. So yeah, it starts at 20,000, and it's a 3% tax.
Oh.
Yeah, and when it hits 35, it becomes 8% tax.
So I'm just assuming out of 1,000, 450 of it would be taxable, and I'm doing 3% on the 450. So
I'm gonna stay out of Malaysian taxes.
Does that sound? Is it taxable the amount after the 20,000, or is it all of it's taxed?
It's in excess, so it's above the 20,000.
Okay. So in
Yeah.
this case,
So
I think
let me try to pull it up from the government website if I can, because as far as I recall, it was as long as you don't earn above 30 something thousand, you don't have to. I mean, pay tax. But
Wait,
I
what
might be
was the goal of
misquoting
your
that.
original question?
I just
Was
want to
it-
see how much taxes they paid on the thousand. If you made $1,000 a month, how much taxes are you paying?
Okay.
Right now, my current guess from the information is I think around $13 of tax.
Preposterous.
That sounds ridiculously low compared to America. America,
That's like taking away somebody's Netflix because they made $1,000 a month.
that $1,000 would have probably freaking like, shit.
You're probably about 20% of that will get taxed.
Yeah, yep. Let's try to do this real quick.
20% of that will disappear before it ends up in your pocket.
Yeah, that'd be $200 in taxes already in
Yeah.
America, but then $13 potentially
Roughly, yeah.
in Malaysia.
So I might be mixing up my rates and my minimum amount here, but yeah, it's
That's okay.
Usually you don't get
That's why we
taxed
have more
when,
fighter planes. We have more Navy ships.
Yeah, America spends so damn much on the military, good and bad. It's tough to. I think a lot of people will argue that's a good thing.
I'll argue it's a good thing. Yeah, there are other countries that you don't want to be more powerful than the U.S. on the world stage.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick your bully, America's probably not too bad compared to the other options.
Probably not.
What's the crypto scene like in Malaysia?
Okay, the crypto scene here is it's improving definitely. It's getting a lot of hype and traction now. So there's a bit of interest here, not only in crypto but the NFT scene as well. So there's a lot of people getting into NFTs these days. And speaking of NFTs, there's like a few mainstream artists who are trying to get into NFTs. So that's kind of pushing the NFT kind of popularity here. So yeah, but it's definitely picking up from what it was a few years ago. That it's definitely picking up.
Wait, have you bought any NFTs?
Yeah, I have.
Is it
But
an
none of the
investment?
popular ones.
Oh yeah.
Say again?
Is it an investment in that? Is it going to increase in value or? Because I have not.
Yeah,
I read about it and I think I understand what it is, but I have no desire to go spend a bunch of money on an artwork or a piece of art or whatever the NFT might be.
I see.
That doesn't personally interest me, but I'm curious as to what the motivation is.
Okay, so NFTs, yeah, they're technically a form of investment, but the appeal is more towards the art or the utility of the NFT. So there's a lot of NFTs being used for like gaming worlds. Like for example, it's NFT. I feel like it's another form of what is already a big thing in gaming. Like for example, you buy skins for your characters. You buy, I don't know, like FIFA points on FIFA 21 and stuff like that. You have to pay for certain things, right? So those kind of things are already sort of NFTs in a way. It's just that with with legit NFTs, they are starting to categorize that and use the blockchain technology behind it, and it's a really fun space to explore. Like there's some cool stuff out there, like CryptoPunks. I don't know if you've heard of CryptoPunks.
Crypto pawns?
Punks?
Punks.
CryptoPunks. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So I think CryptoPunks is probably the most is probably the largest NFT in the market right now in terms of market cap.
Oh wow!
So a single CryptoPunk can go up to 5 figures USD, like 20 to 30,000 USD for a single CryptoPunk. So that's huge.
So we're buying digital unique items.
Yep. So let's say you buy a particular CryptoPunk, that CryptoPunk is yours. So you can resell it, you can keep it. Certain NFTs have utility. For example, you buy this, you can use it in the game.
Yeah, is it basically a digital character, a digital cartoon?
Yeah, it's sort of digital. There are NFTs that are digital characters, like for games and stuff like that, and there are NFTs that are pure art. Like drawings, photographs, and a bunch of it. So you can actually get an NFT for like really cheap on. I use this website called. It's a bit hard to pronounce, but it's called Hik@Nunk.
You lost me.
I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the name, but it's HEN. for sure.
HEN,
So
yeah.
you can get like super cheap NFTs there.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a pretty exciting space.
Do you see the Malaysian government like pushing regulations or anything with crypto, or how's that there?
They've recognized it as far as I know, I might be mistaken, but I think they've recognized it as something that's, a form of currency, but it's not legal tender yet. There is regulation in that if you trade cryptocurrency, you will be taxed in Malaysia. So, which is quite a new law, a new regulation in terms of taxes. It wasn't taxed before, but if you hold it for more than a year, you would be not subject to tax because it will be a capital gain. So if you hold it more than a year, again, I might be mistaken about this, but that's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of that, they are regulating it, but I think Malaysia is probably quite a way off from recognizing as legal tender and stuff like that. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was about to say that we have a few, regulated cryptocurrency exchanges here as well. So those are approved by the Securities Commission of Malaysia. So those guys can operate, and so that's about what the government regulation is. Sorry, go on.
The IRS in the U.S. Definitely wants to tax you if you go make money on cryptocurrencies. The IRS here wants to tax you. I've seen it on some forms now. But that tells me that the IRS thinks it's money. Like if they want to tax you on it, sounds like money to me. So it's same. It's not legal tender here. It's not recognized as legal money, but it sure seems legitimate if you want to take some of it away from me. If you want some of it, it must be real.
Yeah. What's your favorite cryptocurrency?
Right now, for the longest time, actually, it's been Ethereum, Ether.
Yes.
I think Liem is a fan of Ether as well, right?
Huge. Yep.
Yeah.
So, that's like basically the foundation of dApps and.
Wait, how many Ethereum T-shirts do you have?
probably 4 or 5 Ethereum T-shirts.
Wow, so you're like a legit fan. You have the T-shirts,
Yes.
posters on the wall.
So you when did you encounter Ethereum? Because you just discovered kind of cryptocurrency around 2020, you said?
2018, when my cousin first told me about Bitcoin. 2020 is when I invested. So I heard about Ethereum back then as well, 2018. But at 2018, Ethereum was nowhere near as popular as Bitcoin, at least in Malaysia. I'm not sure globally. But yeah, the first time I bought Ethereum was 2020 as well. So that's when I really started looking into it and discovered, this could be huge, right? And it is. It's basically the foundation of so many things.
What in your mind attracted you to say Bitcoin in 2018 and then Ethereum in 2020? Like, do you remember what articles you were reading or what people were saying to you, or what light bulb went off in your mind with your thoughts on cryptocurrency?
At first, I thought it was a bit confusing to me because at first people were describing it as digital currency. But in fact, if you think about our fiat currency, it's essentially just numbers on a screen now. So it's in a way digital already.
Yeah, I think something I think it's 9. If I remember correctly, 97% of U.S. money is digital, and then only 3% is actually printed.
90% of US money is
97.
Yeah.
If I might be wrong on that, but that's what I remember. 97%.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. Essentially, we're already working with digital currency. So it didn't really hit me how it was different. But then I started reading about it and I started understanding that it's not a digitalized form of currency. It's actually an alternative to fiat currency, which for the longest time has not existed as far as I know. So that's what got me interested in Bitcoin. And for Ethereum, what got me interested was understanding that there was this whole network, this whole ecosystem that was being built, and there's a lot of other currencies that are being built on the foundation that Ethereum has. So it's essentially something that's underlying in the core. Like, why not invest in the foundation? So that's what got me started with Ethereum. Then I heard about other stuff like Cardano and Solana, and those guys are interesting as well. So what about you guys? What's your favorite cryptos?
Ethereum is my
Yeah.
biggest one. I think proof of stake, I believe will be the future. I think, and I say I think because I mean this is all speculation on how cryptocurrency is going to be adopted and how it's going to be used. So since I think proof of stake is the future, that's where the biggest part of my portfolio is in proof of stake, and so I keep a close eye on Cardano, Polkadot, Solana. Any proof of stake, what are the other? There's Algorand is another proof of stake, but anything proof of stake, I try to keep a close eye, especially if they're anywhere near Ethereum. And right now, Ethereum seems to be the King Kong. Like if this one, I find hard to believe. I saw some figure that someone said, some analysts, quote unquote analysts, because I don't know where they're getting their numbers from. They said 90% of developers are with Ethereum. And I find that a bit hard to believe. If they said something like 40%, I could probably believe that. I don't know if I believe 90% because when I go look through GitHub and I look at the number of developers, that one's a hard one to try to extrapolate who's a unique developer for Ethereum, who's a unique developer for Bitcoin and vice versa. But when I look at those things, I kind of don't think 90% is all on Ethereum. So that's just my take. So even if what I take out of that is there's a shitload of developers for Ethereum. That's my extrapolation. Even if it's 40%, that's still a big number. If it was that number, I forget where I was going with this point. So
I think Axie Infinity is the future.
So I think proof of stake is the future. So then I keep a close eye on kind of where the developers are because I'm a developer, and I think that's where the future of cryptocurrency. I was about to say often is, but I know that that's not 100% also. So I kind of look where the developers are, where the market's going, and where proof of stake is, and that's where I try to go. Right now, I do think Ethereum is a King Kong, and I don't think anyone's getting close to it. Like even with the 4 or 5 year, I feel like Ethereum's got somewhere between a 4 or 5, maybe a 3 year lead on any other proof of stake. A lot of people will argue with me and say I'm not right. That's fine. Like meaning they might say Cardano's only 1 year away or 6 months away. I think Cardano's, in my opinion, 3 to 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5 years away. Polkadot, 3, 4, 5 years away. Solana, 3, 4, 5 years away. But I do hedge my investments. I have Cardano. I got Solana. I got Algorand. I don't have Polkadot. I'm gonna say I'm a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Superficial on this. I don't think the term Polkadot is a very professional name, so I just chose not to put money in Polkadot. But I could be wrong, and maybe Polkadot would go big. But right now, I see as Ethereum's the big King Kong. I feel like Bitcoin as a blockchain 1.0. I kind of don't see how it's going to last in the long run, but
I get that.
And I think Goldman Sachs I think it was today or yesterday just put out an article where they think Ethereum is going to overtake Bitcoin. It's weird that Goldman Sachs, I don't know what analysts they got there writing those articles, so I don't know if it's trustworthy. I don't know. It's weird to take advice from Goldman Sachs, who is so much heavily in the U.S. stock market and whatnot. So I take their stuff with a grain of salt. So anyways, I still, even though they said that and I don't trust them, they actually happen to be, I think, correct that Ethereum, I think, will eventually do the flippening.
Don't quote the source you don't trust.
I'll say by chance they happen to be correct. But I've been saying that for a couple of years, so I've been way ahead of them.
Flipping, yeah.
I heard a funny. I guess I read an article about Jack Dorsey, who is the guy that invented Twitter and Square. They say he's generally a Bitcoin maximalist, right? He thinks Bitcoin is it. Bitcoin is the thing. Nothing else matters. Bitcoin is the big thing that matters. And people have been trying to point out to him for years, hey, Ethereum, check it out, right? But he's stuck to his guns, according to the story. I don't know Jack Dorsey, but so they say, well, Twitter is issuing 100 NFTs And that's on the Ethereum network. So
Yeah.
if Jack doesn't believe in Ethereum, Twitter certainly does, because just by sheer usage, right? That in fact and indeed it is being used.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be an interesting thing to, I mean, even for us to maybe throw a little thought experiment on this. Do you guys think store value of Bitcoin, or is it the usability of some type of maybe Ethereum that has dApps or proof of stake in the future? Is it usability that's going to drive the adoption of crypto, or is it store of value eventually? What do you guys think about that?
For me, I personally think it's going to be usability, because there's always going to be this value behind being a store of value for Bitcoin. But usability, I think, comes above all else. Like, for example, you can see with Ethereum, a lot of people are using it, but at the same time, they're complaining about gas fees. So that might be a thing where, that shows that people actually care about, usability. Like they are using the Ethereum network and they're affected by the high gas fees and they're complaining about it. So that shows that Ethereum, I mean, it's a huge factor in what you can use. So some people are using different, Binance Smart Chain and all this to transfer crypto, which has less fees, So yeah, I think usability is going to be a huge part.
I think when people call Bitcoin a store of value, I think they're just putting that concept on it. I mean, because in reality, what does Bitcoin do that Ethereum doesn't? I mean, how does it store value better than Ethereum? I mean, essentially, essentially they're both blockchain cryptocurrencies. So what about Bitcoin makes it a store of value in a way that any other cryptocurrency isn't? Maybe because there's enough public belief and public trust in Bitcoin as the first coin that there's some value there. Certainly more than, say, Pluto 6.9 coin, right? You wouldn't call Pluto 6.9 a store of value. So is that the real difference, is the credibility? But technologically, what's different? They're all blockchain cryptocurrencies. So does Bitcoin do anything in particular that makes it a good store of value?
The only thing I think of I think the best argument for maximalists in this situation, which I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist at all. Obviously I just said I think Ethereum's the future, so I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist in any way, shape, or form. But I think their best argument is that their mining servers stick to ASICs and ASIC mining, and they haven't moved with dApps or anything. So by sticking to the ASIC miners, they kind of stay true to proof of work mining the entire time, and they don't verge from that. They don't change from that. I think what their point, and I think this is their best point, and I don't think it's very good, is by doing that, they have a peer network that is looking to be that and stay that and not change. So you have the value by the growth of the network and the trust of the network, which I don't think it's a good argument.
And the consumption of more and more electricity around the world.
yes. So I don't think, I think that's their best argument, and I don't think it's a very good one.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
We're gonna get a lot of haters now. Once Bitcoin maximalists discover
what
this
do I
channel.
care if old-fashioned people hate me?
Now, an argument that I think their best argument against Ethereum, which I still don't think is very good, but this is, I think, their best argument. Ethereum went to GPUs, and GPUs, you can't have the ASICs. I don't think it's a great argument, but GPUs, they're saying, well, you've added on complex coding on the blockchain with Ethereum, and GPUs could be like someone wants to take control of the network. I'm like, well, this is tough to explain. Like ASICs, you could still take control of the networks. You just you'd have to buy a bunch of ASICs miners on the Bitcoin network, or you buy a bunch of GPUs for the Ethereum network. I guess the Bitcoin people are saying, if you change your code so much and you have GPUs that people could, their argument let's throw that out. I don't think that's a good
Your argument sucks.
Yeah. So let's add the complexity of programming. So if you add on programming, you could change. You could have someone adds in code and one day, and say the community is for this code change, and then something happens where everybody finds out, oh crap, that was a bad code change, and that risked mining, that risked something in the smart contract, and then that could go bad. So that's probably the best thing, probably the best argument that Bitcoin has, meaning they're saying you are working on a network of Ethereum with code that is changing too much and you have too much volatility in your code. So that's probably the best argument. And I still don't think it's that good, because that's the soft forks and hard forks. If something bad happens, the community votes by having their developers work on it, and the miners all download the new hard fork, or if there's a soft fork, however it is, whatever they choose, the community, important part is the community chooses how Ethereum will move in the future, whether they hard fork or not. And I think Bitcoin's trying to say they don't, as a maximalist, they don't think that's a good way to have a network. So I don't think I don't think Bitcoin's argument is good on that, but that's my personal opinion.
Bitches. I would say from the end user standpoint, like somebody like me, I ain't ever looking at the code. I couldn't tell you what code's what. I couldn't tell you, I can tell you generalities of what I read, but I've never looked at code. I couldn't tell you why Bitcoin code is less capable than Ethereum. I mean, there's a lot going on with Ethereum code, but what is the value of having some simple original code? That's kind of like saying we should just keep programming in Fortran.
Yeah.
Why use a new programming language?
Yeah. And if you're going to be a maximalist, I'll say if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, if you want to keep things your own way, then you shouldn't have an argument against people that want to use the US dollar and keep things their own way.
Yeah.
That'd be, hey, you don't want to change. It's the same analogy. So what do you guys think about centralized cryptocurrencies? Or say Ripple. Ripple is probably the biggest centralized one, I think.
Yeah, probably is. I'm a bit iffy about Ripple. I used to have I was very interested in Ripple and XRP, but then I read about it and discovered that it's basically all mined at this point. If what I'm saying is correct, basically the supply is already there. So that's where the whole whether it's a security or not a security argument comes up, right? And so lately I'm a bit iffy about XRP. It sort of goes against some of the principles of cryptocurrency, if you ask me, if I'm being correct. The whole thing about crypto is that it's decentralized. It's not fully owned by any one entity. It's, the best ones, I guess, are, sort of, I don't know if it's the right word to use, but open source, I guess. So, more power to the people. It's decentralized, but XRP doesn't have some of that aspects. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So what about you guys? Emmett, do you have any thoughts on XRP?
I haven't looked at it lately. When it was newer, I researched it a little bit. And yeah, it's under the control of some organization that doesn't have our interests. It has its own interests. So what do I care? What do I care what XRP is doing?
But it does have like some usability, right? It has some utility behind it.
It's super fast and super cheap. That's probably
yes.
And then
that's probably the biggest draw, I guess.
Yeah, that's the biggest draw. The other thing, because it's centralized, they could try to maybe build something like an insurance, not quite insurance, not insurance that the way we think of insurance. Like say a wallet, someone steals 10,000 Ripple out of someone's wallet. They might, because it's centralized, they could probably revert that change, and that's what they're centralized. They're not decentralized. If it's decentralized, once you lose that 10,000 coins, you're done. So there's maybe the one benefit to the user of Ripple is they could implement that.
They could.
I think for me personally, I look at all cryptocurrencies in their usages, right? Does it currently have some use case? Is there something that people are using it for currently? So with Ethereum, you can name dozens of things, right? People are buying buying CryptoPunks. They're buying digital stuff. They're buying artwork, right? People are using Ethereum for certain things. I don't know what people are using XRP for or what the future use will be. So it might come up. I mean, if they figure out some great use for it, then I can see the value there. But currently, I don't know. I don't know currently what it's used for and what it's going to be used for.
My theory back then, and it's still kind of my theory now with Ripple, is so Ripple, their team built, the Ripple Labs team built Ripple XRP. Yep. And then they also, the what they call the code, the blockchain underneath of it, I believe it's called Ripple Net. I might be wrong on it. So what Ripple Labs is trying to do is get to the banks and government, say, hey, we got this Ripple Net that you guys could implement into your banks. You could see an example, which is Ripple XRP on in the public domain. So if let's say Chase Bank says, oh, we like RippleNet. Okay, we like what XRP, it looks like it's running fine. So let's take RippleNet and centralize it and use it similarly the way that XRP is going now. So that's what I was hoping, that say if Chase Bank somehow chose RippleNet and Ripple Labs, that would bring the price of XRP. I was just hoping. That was the gamble back then. That was my gamble. The price has gone up, and it's great for me as an investor, but I actually don't have, I'm buying it sort of as a diversification to my portfolio. I don't believe it's the future, but I believe that it has a potential to go up, if that makes sense. In the temporary future, it could go up.
It's a different egg to put in your basket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. Totally
different eggs? No. Put all your eggs in one basket? It's a different colored egg. No, that doesn't work. Fuck that. Sorry, banks don't deal in eggs.
And then what do you guys think about stable coins? Do they have a future?
I wouldn't invest in one because it can't go up in value.
Exactly. Yeah. But
I
definitely
think
it has utility. Yeah.
Yeah, utility.
Yeah, useful tool. Depending on whatever they're pegged to, right?
Yeah, yeah. So what if USDC? I think that's the new hotness or whatever for a stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar. If USDC, if everyone starts using it, does that bring the price of, say, Ethereum? Let's say like globally, people are like, hey, let's use USDC, and then they may not have a use for Ethereum anymore. I don't think that's true, but I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on it.
No. Well, certainly, I would say this: there is some portion of the world that is aware of and using cryptocurrency, right? So whatever the cryptocurrency using population is, people like us that know about it, that own some, whoever that population is, it's at least 1 million people, right? A couple million people, probably not 1 billion, but there's some millions of people that are aware of cryptocurrency, and as of right now, they all know and trust Ethereum as the most capable coin, as the most useful, the coin that has the most ability to do things that we want it to do. So in that way, I think Ethereum is the majority of the traffic, right? If you count up the cryptocurrency traffic, then most of it is Ethereum in one way, shape, form, or another. Whether they're clone coins or something that's riding on the Ethereum network, it's the majority of the activity. So most other things that try to argue against that seem kind of illogical to me. It's like, well, in fact, that's what's happening. You could try to convince America that helicopters are the way to go. Helicopters are great. They pick you up at your front lawn and they put you on the top of the building, and they're very safe. They're safer than cars, or what. You could say whatever you want about helicopters, but in fact, we're all driving automobiles on roads right now. Look around. We're all driving automobiles on roads. So that's what I feel about Ethereum. Is right now, look around. Ethereum is what everybody's doing and using for most things in the cryptocurrency world. Is the way I would kind of summarize my view.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
great analogy.
It worked a lot better than eggs in a basket.
I'm clipping close eye on Cardano and Solana. I heard Cardano has a bunch of DApps, or I think it was Cardano. I might be wrong on that. So, but I don't think it's still, when people say it's a bunch of DApps on Cardano, I think it's still a fraction of what ETH is. So I still think ETH is the King Kong, but I'm still watching Cardano and Solana and Algorand closely.
What do you think about Solana? It's like marketing. It's super high speed and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
I think it uses proof of history or something.
Was it proof of? You might be right on that. I think ultimately when I looked at, was it proof of history?
A proof of friendship.
When I looked at their proof of history, I could be wrong on this. It's from from a couple months ago when I looked at it. I thought it was. I'm trying to go through my memory banks. It was still close to proof of stake ultimately.
Yes.
So to me, I still looked at it as a proof of stake. Their proof of history wasn't much different from what proof of stake is doing. I might be slightly wrong in that, and I hope anyone that's watching or listening to this, they do their own research. But so when I try to categorize my cryptocurrencies into different or just categories, so it's easier for me to figure out where I want to put my investments. So proof of Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, because they're like they have a programming layer, smart contracts with proof of stake. Even if they're not proof of stake, they could still be a programming. They could still have smart contracts programming in there, and I'll still put it in this category that I call platform coins. And platform coins, I think, is the future. So those 3 or 4, ETH, Cardano, Solana. So I just did my research on Solana, and I thought it was similar. They're proof of history, proof of work, or proof of stake. So I lumped it in. From the looks of it, Solana and Cardano, they're still a fraction of what ETH has on developer network and dApps, and especially network network usage, network miners, developers, the community. It's so small compared to ETH. So I'm on board with ETH for now, but like I still do own Cardano and Solana just in case.
Yeah.
Because you're greedy.
Unfortunately, with cryptocurrency, I mean,
I will say this: I wish they had named it something besides cryptocurrency. I think it's terrible marketing because when people hear about it, the word crypto doesn't inspire any confidence or trust. I think it has the opposite effect of making it sound sketchy.
Yeah, it sounds like this clandestine kind of, behind the scenes, like Ackerman kind of thing.
Mysterious
crypto.
Yeah.
Is there any other coins that you follow?
Mainly right now it's Ethereum, Solana, and Cardano. I think those are the main ones.
All proof of stake for you, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Ethereum's not there yet, but soon to be.
Ethereum's not there, but it will be once the upgrade comes about. Those are basically the main ones. Trying to think if there's any other. I do like check out other coins, like whenever I hear about them. Avalanche is one.
What does Avalanche do? What does Avalanche do?
Is pretty similar to Solana, unless I'm mistaken. But the whole thing is they're building an ecosystem of the whole ecosystem behind Avalanche, and they're trying to build a couple of projects under that. It's developed by Ava Labs, so it's also a proof of stake currency, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I've been doing a bit of research about it, but I don't know that much about them yet. I haven't invested in Avalanche yet, or the AVAX coin. But yeah, it's something I'm looking at right now.
What made you kind of gravitate towards proof of stake coins? It seems to be your whole interest.
Oh, proof of history.
Well, proof of history is at its core, like what Liam said, it's still proof of stake. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's I would categorize the same thing as Liem. Like Solana is still end of the day proof of stake. I think proof of stake is probably the most. I don't know. It's more convincing to me than proof of work. Right? Plus, it's it uses less, energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more efficient, energy efficient, and I feel it's in the long run probably the best way to go. In fact, Ethereum is switching to proof of stake, so that's a huge pro in the pros and cons list of proof of stake. Yeah, so I'm pretty
Yeah,
big on proof of
Vitalik
stake
wouldn't do
now.
it if it was a bad idea.
You never know.
I think we should. Do you have any manufacturing ties over there? Do you know any factories? I think we need to make
Say again?
soft. Do you know any?
Oh.
Do you know any factories over there? We don't have any factories where we're at. I think we should manufacture soft forks, like really like weak rubber forks or something. And we could sell soft forks to the 1 million people around the world who understand cryptocurrency.
Awesome.
Literal softbox.
Yeah, it has to be soft enough that you can't actually pick up any food with it.
Do you remember when you started like looking into proof of stake, or how that kind of came up on your radar? Because you knew Bitcoin in 2018.
In 2018, I didn't know anything about proof of work or stake. I just thought, there was Bitcoin and the other coins, and they all work the same way. But then, right before I invested, that was last year, I started doing more research, and I found out that, okay, there's actually different consensus methods that these coins use, and each has its own, pros and cons list. And so that's when I started reading more about proof of stake and finding out how it works. Of course, I'm not a programmer or a coder. I don't really understand the underlying code or the technology.
That's okay, nobody does.
As a concept, I don't think most lay people understand anyway.
No.
Yeah. So, but as a concept, I feel it's, it had a lot of promise, and it still has. So, yeah.
Yeah, I try to look at white papers. I mean, some of them get really technical, and if they're able to lose me when they get super technical, to me that's almost like a good sign. Like when I read, I forget which was the recent one. I forget. I don't want to shit on some shit coin before by accidentally naming. So anyway, someone texted me recently, probably like a month ago. They said, "Hey, what do you think about this coin?" I went to go check out the website. I looked at the white paper, and there's nothing technical in the white paper. I'm like, this is a red flag to me. Now that's not always 100% that doesn't mean that coin is bad, but that was a red flag. So then I dug a little bit deeper. I went to their GitHub, and I'm like, hey, there's not many developers here. I went to their Reddit. They didn't have a Reddit sub community. I'm like, well, there's a lot of flags here.
Are you saying you want some math nerd to be behind the cryptocurrency?
They probably need to know enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the white paper has nothing, no math nerding out in there, then that's probably a bad sign. That's not good financial advice. That's not good programming advice. That's not good white paper advice, but that seems to work for me.
Well, it's a funny thing because they want to show you some math conceptually without giving you their actual secrets.
No, white paper, by the time they tip, from my understanding, when they're about 90% done with their code, they release the white papers. And then to be a true decentralized cryptocurrency, you have to actually, you got to release all the code anyway. So you want to try to release the white paper at the end, because if someone reads that white paper and tries to program it all, they probably won't have enough time. So it's usually released towards the end. That's the same. Yeah, for all of it, like Bitcoin, that's how it was released. Those, I think 90% done. They released Satoshi Nakamoto released the white paper.
Okay, so any cryptocurrency might have a conceptual secret sauce, and you don't want to give the concept away until you're too far ahead for anybody to catch you.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. It's like if you had 3 baskets of eggs, and the green eggs, you wanted. Fuck it. Never mind.
No, it's like you're about to sell like 20,000 green eggs, and you have 19,000 of it. Then you advertise you're about to sell it, because nobody's going to get close to selling cheap green eggs
ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
We're so determined to make the eggs and basket analogy work.
I mean, it's a very large basket to fit 19,000 eggs.
20,000 eggs.
It's the size of a dump truck.
So what do you guys think about the current crash? I mean, with crypto. So what in the last month, it's been it went from 65,000 down to 35,000 on Bitcoin. I forget the numbers.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. Yeah. So
from global market cap, it was 2.5 trillion down to 1.4, 1.3, I think. What do you guys feel about cryptocurrency now while it's down?
It's not down. It only depends on the time period over which you're looking.
Yes, that's a good way to look at it.
Yes.
Whenever in doubt, we zoom out.
I'm going to try to make a TikTok clip out of that.
You should keep buying it. Your dollar cost average will be low. I mean, it's certainly normal for cryptocurrencies to have long down periods and to be super volatile and then to have run-ups.
I wouldn't say super long down. Well, I guess it depends on whose perspective. I wouldn't say super down or long down periods. I guess
I've been waiting a long time to retire. I keep having to show up for a job.
Wear Lambo, wear retirement. Or win Lambo, win retirement.
Yeah, sounds about right.
In your circle,
a lot of sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I find a lot of there's a lot of news articles coming out lately that's spreading fear and uncertainty, especially with what's happening in China, the crackdown on Bitcoin miners and stuff like that, right? So that's a huge factor. Every day, you wake up to some frightening news.
But I don't worry about China. I think if China as a country, obviously the government is different than the people, but if the China government says no cryptocurrency, that's 1 billion people in China who can't use cryptocurrency, but whatever, who cares? The Chinese government's a little bit asshole anyway, so you want to do your own thing, go ahead.
In your circle of friends in Malaysia, is there a lot of you guys are into crypto, or are you the only one in crypto? What's that like?
I have a circle of friends here that are super into crypto.
Okay.
I have a couple of friends who actually we discuss whenever we find a new coin, or we try to do airdrops every now and then.
Airdrop is you're giving coins to each other?
No, we're trying to participate in an airdrop, so we're trying to get those free coins.
Get the airdrops.
So sometimes people do this on Twitter and coin market cap and stuff like that, so we try to keep each other updated. But we do have discussions about crypto and stuff. There are a circle of my friends who are not so into crypto, but I managed to convince 2 of my closest friends last year to buy Bitcoin in December 2020. So I told them that, guys, we need to buy now. At the time was 70,000 ringgit, which I'm going to have to convert again. 70,000
All right,
ringgit.
so Tharmaraj has a motorcycle gang, and they roll over to the cafe, and they meet up there and talk about cryptocurrency. And then they get in gang fights.
If I'm doing my maths correctly, it's about nearly 20,000 USD. This was early, I think it was end of 2020. Yeah, so around then.
So at the peak, it hit 65. So they are about to see 300x for them.
Yes, 3x.
No, but if they held on to it, they're still up 50% now, right?
Yeah, they're still up. So our initial investment that we made there is still up. So I'm glad we did that.
Yeah. What else can you buy that will increase in value 50% over a year?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then with the future of it, I mean, we people that are, you think the future we think the future of cryptocurrency is so bright. So this 50%, hopefully in 7 years, is going to be 5,000% or 10,000%. We'll see. We'll see what the number is
with compounding.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. But if you look at, for example, the one that the article that my cousin shared 2 years ago, 2018 was 3 years ago. It was saying that Bitcoin is struggling to reach 5,000. Now, when you look back and put it in perspective, it seems almost unbelievable. But at the time, it was a legit concern. will it really hit 5,000? Is it a fad? Is it, is this legit? So yeah, it only makes sense looking back.
Do you guys think that the dollar price of Bitcoin that has gotten as high as 65,000, does that pave the way for Ethereum to have some high dollar possible value per coin, or is it not related in any way? Like, could you say, well, Bitcoin went to 60,000, why can't Ethereum go to 60,000? Or is it not a logical comparison?
I would say, well, there's a couple factors that are, there's the market cap itself, because even though Bitcoin is at a 65, say the peak at 65,000, I want to say the market cap of Bitcoin, because it has less coins than Ethereum. So it was like a I don't know, probably $1.2 trillion market cap. And Ethereum at $4,000 still was only at probably like a $700 billion market cap.
About half.
About, yeah. So anyways, but because Ethereum has more coins, so that's why the value of the coin.
Okay, so there are only 21 million possible Bitcoins?
Yeah.
How many Ethereum are possible?
About 100 million. I might be wrong.
So 1/5 of, assuming it could reach the same market cap, then it could have 1/5 the value.
Yeah.
Okay.
96 million ETH. Yeah. Well, that's 2017.
Is this why people pay attention to the market cap of a coin?
That's why I do.
Yeah. Well, like one of the popular websites is coinmarketcap.com, right?
Yep.
So
then now to extrapolate the next point went out earlier when I said it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
I think it's silly because if we look at a market cap of Bitcoin, but then now all three of us seem to agree that Ethereum is the King Kong. That's the future.
Yes.
So we shouldn't care about the 1/4 market cap or the half market cap of Ethereum to Bitcoin. Because if we think it's the future, we should all be in Ethereum, which we are. It seems like all of us are. We have more Ethereum than Bitcoin. I'm assuming. Yep. Okay. Yep. So,
that's correct.
So looking at the market cap is only for a way because I think too many other people look at market cap. I don't look at it because I think it's a good metric on what the future of this technology is. I look at it because I know that's how humans or investors are looking at it.
Right.
Because I think in the long run, once the flippening happens, I think the flippening is going to maybe catapult a explosion for Ethereum just to go way past Bitcoin. It'll flip. It'll probably jump down because people don't believe it. And then there's going to be some other event. So say in August, EIP 1559, which is Ethereum Improvement Proposal. A big change is supposed to happen in August 4th, I think is the date. So that may...
Is that London?
Yeah, the London hard fork.
Yeah, it's called the London hard fork, right? Yep.
So that may...
Nerds.
There's a possible chance the flippening could happen there because there's other factors. People are saying there's a lot of wallets, there's a lot of activity on ETH. There's a lot of just so much going on in the ecosystem that this could be a flippening moment, which Bitcoin Maximus will unsubscribe to my channel after they hear this, but I don't care. So maybe Ethereum will go up and then the Bitcoin Maximus will get upset and they'll pump Bitcoin up and then Ethereum will come back down. But then when Ethereum 2.0 comes up, I think that's where maybe that huge catapult will happen where that market cap of a quarter or half of Bitcoin's market cap, it may just skyrocket from then and Bitcoin will be the past. That's my theory.
Oh, so I can quit my job now as long as I got enough food till August. Right?
No, I said Ethereum 2.0. 2.0.
I'm tired of working. Come on.
I forget what I forget they said something like I'm probably all wrong. Q3, Q4 of next year for Ethereum 2.0. They're trying to push it out faster because of the gas fees. A bunch of people are complaining about the gas fees at Ethereum.
Yep.
So I think the developers are trying to say, hey, let's get Ethereum 2.0 out. sooner. So something like Q3, Q4.
It'll change before then.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll probably change. Yep, exactly. So even if they're speculating Q3, Q4 of 2022, it'll probably be 2024 by the time it comes out.
Yep.
Yeah. Do I have to buy a Lamborghini?
No, you should
Should
not.
we pre-order our Lamborghinis? in July, on July 31st, we can pre-order.
I mean, I'm not against it. I wouldn't be mad about it.
Well, either of you guys have any thoughts on the stock markets that aren't in the U.S., the international stock markets?
I don't know a lot about international stock markets. Only in relation to the U.S. I'm not that big of a student. Again, accounting is different than finance. If you're in finance, you'd study that a lot more. But I can give you anecdotes like that story about Japan, but I don't know a lot structurally or whatever. I could tell you probably which countries and which stock markets are important or have the most money.
Have you studied international stock markets at all?
Yeah, I'm looking into some. I feel there's a lot of potential in, like, for example, China. The China stock market is probably, there's a huge potential there. But as far as investing into them goes, I have not done any direct investing into like stocks in China or US. I've always planned to buy like US stocks, but I'm still looking for a reliable broker that's based in Malaysia, or a reliable exchange that I can use to buy.
Yeah, is that difficult to
stocks in
do
US.
from Malaysia? Like if you're in Malaysia, is it difficult to buy US stocks?
It used to be, but now there's a lot of sort of what's the term? I mean, online stock brokers that are coming up and make it a bit easier.
Yeah.
So there are some that are based in Singapore,
Yeah.
which we also can use. So it's getting easier. I'm just trying to find the right one and probably buy it. But then for us, we have to take into account the exchange fees and the transaction cost and all this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're trying to make 10% return or something, and then you get nickel and dime on costs and fees and exchange rates,
exactly.
You could chew up your profits before they get to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you have to factor all of that in before you actually even consider buying US stocks or any other country stocks for that matter.
How much does like a ballpark does the Malaysian government tax like if you were to buy U.S. stocks and you made $100, how much would they tax on that?
I really do not know the percentage.
No problem.
I really can't recall right now. I can, it's, but I'm assuming that there is still the capital gains law that applies if you hold it for more than a year. I'm assuming. I might be wrong. But yeah, I'm really not sure about the percentage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with crypto here, it's around, I think 20% if you pull out in the first year, and then 10% after a year, if I'm correct.
Oh, I thought 20% was the long-term capital gain rate, and then higher for short-term.
Shit, am I wrong on that?
Oh wow, that's quite high, huh? That's quite a high return. I mean, quite a high rate.
But it's not as high as our employment taxes. So if you work a job and you have wages, your income taxes and your employment taxes and all the various taxes will be much higher than a capital gains tax. So that's part of the inequality here is that if you're a person working a job, you're getting taxed at some high rate, and then if you're a rich person that just owns stuff and that stuff increases in value, then even though you didn't work for it, your increase in value gets taxed at a lower rate than the poor guys working out in the sun. So it's one of the subtle ways in which our system is rigged to funnel money to the top. According to me, in my personal opinion. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it's tough to, I mean, how are someone working minimum wage here, how are they supposed to even freaking survive and then get ahead? How are they supposed to get money to get into investments, a house, stocks, 401k? It's just crazy. It's just absolutely nuts.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a point at which it's greed, right? There's a point at which you have enough money to buy all the things you need and want. There's a point at which you have enough money to buy all the things you need and want for the rest of your life. So like, how much more do you need when you hear about, super millionaires and super billionaires? What do you need another $1 billion for that you're already, what else are you going to do? So it's a strange capitalist world we live in here.
Yeah, I think you wrote down a question earlier, Emmett.
Why do rich people hate us?
No.
Oh.
Is buying a home in Malaysia, is that a way to build and gain wealth? Is that the same thing as in the U.S.?
Oh, yeah. In the U.S., buying a home is one of the best ways for a normal working person to start building wealth, right? Because if you're renting, you're just paying rent. But if you own the home and the home goes up in value and you're paying down the principal on the home, then that's one of the best ways for Americans to start building wealth or accumulating some more money. So is that a similar situation there?
Yeah, it has. What's the historical returns that you can get on a house? What's the appreciation like in the last 10 years for real estate? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good, but largely because we had that giant crash in 08, 09. So that was a big housing crash. So until about 2016, it was still a very depressed housing market. But after 2016, it started becoming a highly appreciating market. Before pandemic, it was, in Las Vegas, because it is different city by city. In Las Vegas, you'd see about 12% increase in value year over year. So if you owned a house that was worth $200,000, the next year it's worth $224,000, which is incredible. That's a great return on your just owning a house that you needed a place to live anyway. So you start compounding that. You're starting to really make some big gains. And then coronavirus, we had a lockdown here that kind of put a halt to real estate for maybe 6 months, and then it came back with a vengeance. And somehow, people who weren't as affected by it, because I think what's not talked about a lot is coronavirus affected the U.S. differently depending on who you were. If you were an office worker, then you could Zoom into work and work from home and do your computer stuff. You could work on your spreadsheets at home and go to your meeting through Zoom and do the same stupid stuff. But if you were, somebody that worked with the public, or if you worked in a restaurant, or if you worked in a supermarket, or you worked in a warehouse, those kind of physical jobs got impacted a lot more. And those weren't the people who were in a great position those are typically lower paying jobs. They weren't in a great position to buy a home anyway. So it's those higher, management, professional jobs that really just accelerated their ability to buy homes in this fast rising market. So this year, since December, it's been even wilder than 12%. I don't know because we haven't reached the end of the year yet to get all the data and reporting, but it's a greater than 12% increase in equity and values that's happening here and generally across the U.S. I'm hearing it's very similar everywhere you go. So,
what's it like in Malaysia compared to that?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing happening here, where it's usually a year on year. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's pretty decent amount. It goes up year on year. But yeah, definitely it's affected by the pandemic. A lot of people can't afford to buy houses or do much at this point because of how much jobs have been affected. But if you look at it historically in Malaysia, yeah, it's definitely been a good way to increase your wealth. Like for example, especially like if you look back, maybe even further back, like 20 years, you'll see that it's an even greater increase in wealth. For example, the house that I grew up in, I'll just give you a rough example. So I grew up in it's a state called Selangor, which is very near to the capital city of Kuala Lumpur. So I grew up there, and then when my parents bought the house, it was around 50,000 ringgit at the time. This was probably, now it's maybe 30 plus years ago. So when I last checked, about 10 years ago, we sold the house anyway. So, but when we left the house, it was a huge increase. Like it went up to like 200, 300,000 ringgit. So, and today in that area, it's houses go for around 500 to 700.
Oh wow, yeah.
Ringgit. yeah, so it's if we held on to that house, it was like huge returns.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely real estate. It's a growing thing here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be stagnant for at least the next couple of years, at least because of the pandemic. People are going to take time to get back on their feet
Mm-hmm.
here. And there's a lot of areas in Malaysia where we don't have the ability to like get on Zoom and go on a call and
Yeah.
we are, yeah, there's a lot of areas that are not so developed in terms of internet accessibility and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So people are going to take time to get back on their feet.
I think the other thing that's happening here is that the U.S. enjoys a special position as the reserve currency of the world. I think that allows
yes.
the Fed and the U.S. Treasury to print money and print money and print money, and we've seen that. They printed more money than ever to get us through coronavirus, and all of that money pumps into the world, pumps into the market, pumps into the U.S., and so the people who are at the top grabbing all that money are buying up property, right? That's one of the things that you do when you got a lot of money is you go buy more property, right? So
exactly.
it's another rich getting richer situation.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot. Like for example, people who, I mean, the top 10% will probably buy houses that were meant for the mid 40% or the lower 20%, and then sell those houses to the same 20% that they were intended for. So
like
it
rent
creates a
them to
huge
them.
disparity. Yeah, rent out the houses, or even sell it at a higher price.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but that's the world we live in.
Yes, until we take over.
Until we take over.
All right, I'm gonna start us into the final questions section.
Yeah.
What great daily habits do you have?
Daily habits. Okay, I've been trying this new thing where I realized that I used to be a voracious reader when I was younger, and I sort of, that habit sort of died down as I got into work, because your schedule changes and you get more busy in the time. So I found
and
that
work sucks.
And work sucks. You don't want to read more when you get home. You just want to sleep or play video games, right? Yeah, but I found that something that really helps me is before I go to sleep every night, I make it a point to like read at least like 6 pages, or 6 to 10 pages of a book. I make it a point to do it every night. So I found that even if I don't get to the 10 pages, sometimes I go past the 10 pages if the book's really interesting.
Yeah.
But that habit has helped me a lot, and I've been trying to get back to that same frequency of reading as I always have.
Are you reading financial books?
I do read financial books, but right now I'm not reading a financial book. I'm reading a fictional book. It's actually 1984 by George Orwell.
Nice.
I've never read it before, so I thought of checking it out.
Nice. All right. Next question. What's the biggest problem for humans? What should they do to fix it?
This is really like, there's so many problems with humanity. to find one would be like a problem.
Well, you got to throw us under the bus.
All the eggs, you guys are already under the bus.
All the eggs are going to crush right now.
Already under.
But I don't know. To find a single biggest problem would be hard. But if I had to name one, like gun to my head, I don't know, like a single biggest problem, I guess it would be for me personally, it would be either a toss-up between the lack of so-called unity as humanity, as people. I think that not only applies to my country, but the world in general, right? There is so much division that happens in the world, and it creates more problems than solutions, in my opinion, especially in this day and age when the global barriers have sort of not disappeared, but dissipated into a point where they don't really matter as much as they used to. Like, for example, today you and I are sitting like continents apart and having this conversation in two different time zones, right? So it doesn't matter which country I'm in, which country you're in, and so unity would is kind of one of the biggest problems for humans. And the second, I think, if I could name a second, was it's probably the disparity in income. Like, we've touched a lot today. We've touched a lot about it today. Like, the rich, as you said, the rich are getting richer. There's a lot of systems that are set up to make that keep happening, and keep the the middle income earners and the low earners at where we are now. So that's another big problem humanity faces.
So you still have a decent amount of time on the final question section. So I'm gonna ask you, what would be the 2 ways you fix both of those then? If you had a magic wand. So the first one, that first one really resonates with me. I think the second one, I do agree with it. I just haven't put much thought to it. The first one I've thought about a lot, and I have my personal answer. Maybe I'll answer it after you give yours. So what would you do if you had a magic wand for the problem with the unity of humans on Earth?
Oh, I know. Give everybody a T-shirt that says soft fork on it, and then if we're all wearing the same T-shirt, then we'll feel like we're on the same team.
Part of one big family.
Yeah, we're all soft fork. Maybe that's not the answer. Maybe that's. Sorry, I got excited. I take it back. I retract my fork.
I think if I had a magic wand, first and foremost, I would start nationally instead of globally. I would start with my own country first, because, like I said earlier, there's a lot of identification problems when it comes to like race over nationality, right? It will solve a lot of problems if we can remove emotion from that aspect. Although I hope my magic wand has the ability to remove that as well. But if it doesn't, then yeah. But yeah, I would start there. I would start in national level, remove the concept of race, as you will, but not the concept of culture.
Yeah.
If the magic wand, it's not a general thing. You'd have to you'd have to put a system into place. Like you'd have to name something specific.
This magic wand.
If the magic wand has to be specific, yeah. Sorry.
Terms and conditions apply.
How would you get your government to squash racial issues?
Okay.
Or
I'm going to try to answer this as diplomatically as possible.
The government is the racist.
Well, I mean, how about this? If you could, to not get you in trouble, America has a lot of racial problems. What system would you put in place in America, or what would you do with that magic wand in America to squash racial problems?
Okay. I can try to answer that in the Malaysian context as well, because I've never been to America. All I've heard of America is through media, right? News and books and movies. So I don't really know how.
It's always the black people acting up.
My magic wand would be to eliminate Emmett.
Don't you watch any Chris Rock movies? Oh, he's old. I was thinking of I forget, Kevin Hart. I was thinking of Kevin Hart.
No, I don't. Well, I don't remember the. Often I don't remember I don't remember the statements or words from a movie long after I've watched it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was derailed us there.
No, sorry. I
love black people.
I'm distracted by Kevin Hart. Where was I going with this? Okay, yeah. So if I was to start, let me bring it to the Malaysian context while trying to remain as diplomatic as possible. So if I had a magic wand to change some of the systems here, first and foremost, I would remove the concept of putting our Malaysians have this thing where we put our name first. Let's say you're going to an official government office to fill up forms, right? You're going to put your name, then you're going to put your identification number, which is kind of like your identification card. You have a number, and then you're going to tick a box which says your race.
Oh, we have the same exact thing here.
Yeah. So that race column, right? It's a bit more divisive. It's a divisive thing. Like people ask you, like, even there's this Malaysian thing where we have, let's say you see a accident on the road or something. There are people who would ask, "Oh, was it a Chinese guy? was it the Indian guy?"
The Chinese guys are causing all the accidents. I got you.
Chinese guys, yeah. No, but yeah, those kind of sentiments, even though yeah, they might be in good humor sometimes, but I would try to remove those sentiments from our daily lives. And also, I would try to
No, I think that's a good point. So on a
yeah,
form that you're filling out for the government, why is your race important on this form?
exactly, right.
Because
Like,
where
but
do
I
we see that
understand in
on our DMV forms? Like our if you're going to get a driver's license, they might ask you about your race, when it should be, well, who the fuck cares? Why does it matter?
Even if the doctor's office. Well, I guess the doctors could have use.
I mean, you could have genetic
Yeah.
dispositions,
I
but
see.
for something, depending on what it is, like there's a lot of government forms that. Why does the race matter? You're right. I think that's not something I had really thought about, but I think you bring up a great point of like, hey, you're making it a thing out of nowhere for no reason. Like, what's the point of this question? What do we do with this information?
Is it everywhere in the US? Like, is it very common, or is it just in certain scenarios? And
I feel it's pretty common, but I can't remember exactly the last time I mean, I've been dealing with immigration papers for my wife. Obviously, it's on that. So,
Yeah. But a lot of times it'll be on federal. So federal is our national, anytime you're applying for something, like you say, filling out a form, there may be a section and they'll say this is for census purposes, right? So the census is trying to figure out how many people are in the U.S. and how many different kinds of people and how can we serve them better. But you're right. In the end, if you don't ask anybody's race, then people are just people, right?
exactly.
Why does the race matter in our modern world, right? If we're all equal, if we all enjoy the same protections under the law, if we all pay the same taxes, if we all do the same things, then you're right. Why make it a point? Why have us check a box?
Like here, we have it for job applications and stuff. I'm not sure if you have it in the US, but yeah, it's also a thing here.
I think we used to. I think it's been eliminated from a lot of things. Like a job application probably can't ask you nowadays.
I see.
But if they see that your name is Tharmaraj, they're probably gonna figure out you're not Chinese. Yeah, Chinese heritage.
I mean, for us with ethnic names, it's probably easy to figure out.
Yeah. Well, so I think that's important too. I try to use the phrase like Chinese heritage.
Yes.
Right? Not Chinese race or Chinese even culture. Chinese heritage says my history and my past. It's something I treasure. Right? Why not? Right? I appreciate where I came from, but that's my heritage. It's a valuable thing. Whatever your heritage is, don't forget that. But I think a heritage is a great word to say that is part of my past, but not necessarily what I identify as now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we feel here as well. Like we have our cultures and our heritages, but end of the day, we are Malaysian first. But I kind of understand where Malaysians fill up certain forms with their race. Like there are uses for it here because there's certain rules and laws that apply to whether you're indigenous or not. Indigenous people get certain protection here.
Yeah.
Like kind of affirmative action. Those ones I understand, but I don't think it's so necessary for like a job application or whatever, right? So it shouldn't matter. So that's the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for my answer to your question, my answer to your how to get people unified, I've thought about it quite a bit, and I think it's I kind of think it is the biggest problem in the world.
Unity.
Was that?
Unity.
So if I had a magic wand, this is going to sound so silly. I'm just going to say it. You guys could laugh at it, whatever. I know there's a lot of holes to it, but it's just the magic wand idea. I think I would go somehow to the UN, United Nations, and somehow implement, like they got green, certain countries are supposed to get green and whatnot. Like they go green energy. So to be a part of, they do that so that certain countries hit certain metrics for them to be in the UN or to be respected in the UN or to have certain say in the UN. So then one thing I would add with the magic wand is tell them, so each push the agenda that each government should push in their school system or in their, I feel like it should be in school, but people, I totally understand. I see how, I know all the holes in this train of thought, but
Yeah, the UN is actually powerless.
yeah, but I know. But the magic wand will try to say, hey, UN, you're going to push this agenda that tell every government you got to push morality and unity through the school system. And I think humans are so bad, and I don't think it would work, but that's my magic wand. I would just try that, see if it somehow works out, where every government from when kids are young, try to push the image of unity, that racism doesn't matter. And then actually, this is a funky one, is push the agenda that corporations have to be good morally. I know that there's too many holes in this whole thing.
Hey, corporations didn't make us racist.
I think corporations with greed kind of only helps push tribalism and then eventually racism. It's a funky
it's like a domino effect.
It's a funky domino effect.
You're blaming Coca-Cola for my racism?
Yes. So yeah, somewhere in the UN, get a magic wand. I would tell them push morality, which includes greed for corporations shouldn't be greedy, morality for humans to treat all others well, and that means corporations should treat all people well too. So
You guys suck at magic wands.
what would you do?
If you got a magic wand, just make everybody literally the same.
No, the magic wand doesn't work like that. There's no generality. You have to push a systematic.
Yeah, make everybody literally just like me, and then give me a slightly larger penis, and then everybody will be equal.
Except you.
Well, as long as they don't look in my pants, they'll be equal. Duh. That's how magic works.
All right, next question. What's your favorite food? And then in your case, I'm going to ask, what's your favorite Malaysian food, and then what's your favorite food outside of Malaysian
pizza?
Yeah, out of Malaysian cuisine.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Okay, like you probably heard, Malaysians are big on food. Like we get this huge diaspora of food here because we have the Malay food, the Chinese food, the Indian food, and we have the fusion, which is very nice.
Yes.
So my favorite food, personally, I have a slight inclination to Indian food. Especially, I don't know if you guys eat a lot of mutton in the US. I don't hear it very often.
No, we would, but we don't get the opportunity. Mutton is lamb, right?
Mutton
okay.
It's goat meat, right? So
yeah, we have nothing
mutton
against it. It's just not available very much. You'd have to go out of your way to find it.
Yeah, certain fine dining steakhouses will have lamb chops. I think lamb chops is kind of the biggest one if it's available.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know
mutton. It sounds better when you call it mutton too.
Mutton, yeah. But lamb, actually lamb is sheep, right? So mutton is goat. So that's how it differs.
Okay.
Goat. Okay.
We do have lamb here.
Mutton sounds a lot better than goat.
Yeah, it sounds like goat steak. Yeah, but mutton is fairly common here. It's used a lot of in a lot of Indian cuisine, Malay cuisine as well. So mutton curry is a thing here, and that's one of my favorite dishes, especially when my mom makes it with this family recipe. Mutton dishes, and then I love Chinese food as well. So Malaysian Chinese food is awesome. Like, we have wonton. I don't know if you guys have wonton noodles there.
Yeah, totally.
Wonton noodles, those kind of things. You can get it for like quite affordable rates here in Malaysia.
So what kind of food do you like that's not Malaysian?
Not Malaysian. I like sushi.
Oh yeah, sushi.
Yeah, sushi is Japanese.
Do you have something called a California roll?
I've heard that actually. I've heard that, but I have no idea what it is. I could have sworn I've seen it in some menu, and I've heard it a few times, but I have no idea what it is.
It's like the beginner sushi for America. Like if you're not into sushi, it's the one you start with to first try sushi.
Okay.
Yeah. It's typically a crab meat or a fake crab meat with rice, cucumber, avocado.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, we have that here, but we don't call it a California roll. It's just that sushi with the crab.
Well, then California roll sounds better. Better marketing.
Next question. Think of at least 2 friends that should do this conversation. Call them out.
Yeah, I actually thought of 2 friends. I actually thought of a few friends that could do this, but I haven't asked them yet. So I'm just going to call them out and ask them later. So there's a friend of mine who actually I did an episode of Cash Cow with. He's an electrical engineer, and he does like solar power. He's going to solar power. The industry now is trying to bring solar power to residential properties.
Nice.
So that was an interesting episode. We had an episode of Cash Cow where we talked about how that would help you save money. Building solar and how it can, because Malaysia is a sunny country, right? Except for when it's rainy during the monsoon season. It's pretty much sunny all the time. We don't have winter and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good idea to have in this place. So that would be the first person I could think of.
What's his first name?
His name is Vinod.
Okay, awesome. And then second,
we're coming after you, bro.
Second person, actually, I had to think a lot about this second person because there's a lot of people in the personal finance community in Malaysia that I could recommend, and there's so many people who are specialized in all different areas of finance. There's a guy who specializes in REITs, real estate investment trust. This cool guy who talks about it in Malaysia. And there's a guy who specializes in NFTs. So I could recommend all these people. I have a bunch
can we talk to an NFT guy?
You really want to do I don't know NFTs for 3 hours.
I keep trying to figure out why they're valuable, and I still haven't figured it out.
It's like
I don't get it.
Essentially.
Yeah, I guess the same way. Like I would never pay $1 million for a painting.
I wouldn't either, but I guess rich people do.
I think I paid about $200 for that's the most I've ever paid for a painting. And it was more of a house decoration.
Kind of like that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like that, but you have the hope that it will appreciate in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
do you have any friends with Lamborghinis?
No, I don't.
No, me either. Damn it.
Yeah. I was thinking of the second person I like to summarize. There's also a cousin of mine who does digital marketing and branding. So I floated this idea to him yesterday. He was a bit iffy about it, but if I could force him to come to this show, I would definitely do so. His name is Jeremiah.
Awesome. Okay.
Nice.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you so much for talking about crypto, finance, accounting. Thank you.
A pleasure to meet you, Tharmaraj.
Yes. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.